Li Changsheng is a rare demonic cultivation genius, admired by many women who seek to cultivate alongside him. Yet his sect leader unexpectedly ordered him to infiltrate a righteous sect as a spy. Xuanjuguan is the preeminent righteous sect where advancement depends on merit and virtue, making this mission a death sentence for a demonic cultivator with a thick aura of bloodlust. Li Changsheng transmigrated to this world after a mishap while trying to gain social media engagement for a girl, only to find himself living as an ordinary farmer instead of a powerful hero. While he was striving to join a righteous sect, his village was slaughtered by the heavenly demon sect, and he was captured and forced to become a demonic cultivator due to his innate talent. He spent 6 months hunting down the disciples who attacked his village, successfully condensing bloodlust to reach the chi refining stage. His progress caught the attention of the heavenly demon sect's leadership, leading to his current assignment as a mole, just as Xuanjuguan prepares for its inner sect examination. Fearing exposure by the sect's high-ranking officials, Changsheng is interrupted when his communication jade glows with a message from his friend Li Daiyan, a dim-witted genius who whispers that he has exciting news. Daiyan praises Changsheng for his sharp intuition, confirming that the disciple named Bing Tubing was indeed a demonic spy who had successfully infiltrated their ranks. When Daiyan asks how he discovered the truth, Changsheng fabricates a story about overhearing the man talking in his sleep. Despite his calm exterior, Changsheng internally prioritizes his mission to secure a position within Xuanjuguan and silently apologizes to the fellow spy he sacrificed. Daiyan mentions that his aunt intends to thoroughly root out all spies during the upcoming trial and warns Changsheng to be wary of retaliation from those he exposed. Changsheng offers a forced smile and promises to be careful before returning to his residence to sit in quiet contemplation. He gazes at the flickering magical flame in his palm with growing anxiety, realizing his cultivation has reached the peak of chi refining and could break through to foundation establishment at any moment. He worries that his intense bloodlust will be easily detected within Xuanjuguan, making him an easy target for those seeking to earn merit by slaying demons. As he tries to calm himself and find a solution, a loud announcement echoes through the sect, calling for the attention of all outer disciples. The sect master has decided to personally preside over the chi altar and begin the inner sect examinations immediately. The sudden announcement causes a stir among the disciples, who quickly begin gathering at the main square to prepare for the assessment. Even those just waking up or busy with other tasks are forced to drop everything and assemble for the crucial inner sect examination. Xuanjuguan is a unique sect governed by its own set of principles, primarily focusing on a technique known as the chi guiding art. This art focuses on harnessing merit chi from the world's darkest corners, meaning the sect prioritizes a candidate's accumulated virtue over their raw talent or background. Xuandu Temple firmly believes that only those possessing merit energy are true disciples who meet the sect's requirements. Noble acts such as upholding justice, helping the weak, and saving the suffering masses naturally generate merit. The temple can confidently train such disciples without worrying about their character, while Li Changsheng reflects on why he has avoided the chi induction art. Unfortunately, he only draws blood slaughter energy, and though he planned to skip the inner sect examination, an unexpected raid on the temple has forced his hand. With the schedule moved up, he desperately tries to recall any good deeds he might have performed in the past to generate merit. The white-haired first peak master curiously asks the temple master why the inner disciple examination was suddenly moved up from its original 3-day schedule. Remaining calm as he gazes into the distance, the temple master explains that he simply decided to proceed early since he had some free time. Despite the explanation, the first peak master remains puzzled as to why such a minor matter as an inner disciple assessment requires the temple master's attention. The first peak master wonders why the temple master is presiding personally, to which the latter smiles and explains that everything leads to prosperity or ruin. He wants to witness the temple's new talents firsthand, feeling a duty to senior sister Ling Lung to manage the sect with absolute dedication and no neglect. Recalling that the previous temple master Ling Lung was an invincible figure who made Xuandu the top immortal sect, the first peak master finally understands and nods. Various sect leaders and elders, including Li Daiyan's aunt, Li Changxi, arrive and bow respectfully to greet the wise temple master. After receiving their greetings, the temple master looks down with a reassuring gaze, noting that the chi induction array has only just begun to take effect. He notes that the results will soon be visible once the merit energy manifests, prompting the first peak master to ask another curious question. When asked if any exceptional candidates might surprise him this time, the temple master remains modest and does not place too much weight on the possibility. He calmly points out that most outer disciples are under 30 and only in the chi refining stage, meaning their life experience is still quite limited. Since generating merit energy at such a young age is extremely rare, he advises against expecting miracles, a sentiment echoed by the second peak master. The second peak master, remarks to the first peak master that their recruitment standards are far stricter than other sects that only focus on talent. Xuandu Temple uniquely requires its disciples to activate merit energy while still in the chi refining stage and under the age of 30. Li Changxi confidently asserts that the temple values quality over quantity and has never relied on sheer numbers to maintain its dominance. Quality is the ultimate goal for Xuandu Guan, which has always maintained the smallest number of disciples among the great immortal sects. Despite its small numbers, the sect's position as the world's leader remains unshakable, though the third branch master worries about the difficulty of a young cultivator triggering merit energy. His mind drifts back to the previous disciple selection examination. The second branch master strokes his beard and expresses concern that this year's candidates might be even less impressive than the 13 who passed the last exam. While he fears for the sect's future, the third branch master suddenly notices the appearance of the golden lotus of merit petal. A massive lotus formed from merit energy now magnificently envelops Li Changsheng, drawing high praise from the fourth branch master. She notes that a single petal represents saving hundreds of thousands of lives and claims the boy for her branch, but another master quickly calls her out. He insists the boy is a genius destined for the Yangxia branch, prompting the sect master to intervene with a mix of authority and humor. The sect master urges them to maintain their dignity, suggesting that a single lotus petal is not worth such a heated dispute. Everyone is stunned as the Xuanwang energy of human merit descends upon Li Changsheng, who wonders if this divine intervention means he no longer needs to flee. The sect master is shocked by the unprecedented sight, knowing that while arrays can fail, the Xuanwang Merit Tower is an infallible treasure. He reflects on how, shortly after taking over Xuandu Guan, a disciple has been recognized by the world's greatest artifact. This recognition symbolizes a divine destiny and the hope that the sect will flourish under his leadership. After a moment of reflection, the sect master joyfully proclaims this event to be a truly auspicious omen for their future. The third branch master wonders if the boy is a reincarnated righteous powerhouse, as such vast merit is unheard of for someone so young. He notes that while reincarnated immortals are rare in their history, this boy might be a great being from the upper realm, though Li Changxi disagrees. She explains that Li Changsheng comes from an ordinary mortal background under the Li family's protection, but he recently performed a significant service. The sect master realizes this is why she executed an outer disciple, as the boy had used her niece to report a spy from the Sky Demon sect. However, he questions if reporting a single spy could possibly generate such an immense amount of merit energy. Li Changxi reveals that the spy was no ordinary disciple, but actually the illegitimate son of the Sky Demon sect's leader, leaving the branch master in shock. Looking at Li Changsheng, it is remarkable that despite not yet reaching the foundation establishment stage, he has already become the sworn enemy of the world's most powerful demon lord. Sect Master begins a deep analysis, noting that old Demon Yu of the Heavenly Demon Cult is the fierce rival of their senior sister Linglong. Li Changsheng is about to face immense pressure, and Li Changxi finds the involvement of old Demon Yu's illegitimate son quite intriguing as she recounts the events in detail. Her investigation revealed that old Demon Yu ordered the slaughter of 100,000 lives for his illegitimate son, even arranging for a butcher to be beaten to the brink of death so the boy could deliver the final blow. Had Li Changsheng not reported the matter in time, the miraculous signs of merit witnessed today would likely have been attributed to that illegitimate son instead. Li Changxi continues her analysis, remarking that while those on the demonic path are ruthless, only a few possess the capability to devise such a sophisticated and large-scale scheme. Sect Master suddenly recalls a crucial point and wonders how Li Changsheng managed to uncover such a massive and shocking conspiracy. With an unusually calm expression, Li Changxi explains that Li Changsheng had accidentally overheard the illegitimate son's delirious ramblings while the boy was fast asleep. The entire hall falls into a stunned silence as all eyes turn toward her, surprised that such a complex matter originated from such an unexpectedly simple cause. Confidently outlining her theory, she suggests that Li Changsheng might not actually be the reincarnation of a powerful true immortal, as they had previously assumed. Instead of being a being from the upper realm, it is more likely that he simply stumbled upon an inadvertently ruined old demon use meticulously crafted plan. Li Changsheng had unexpectedly seized the opportunity old demon Yu intended for his son, leading the sect master of Xuandu Temple to declare that the boy is a precious seed of merit to be nurtured. If he is not a reincarnated immortal, the sect must dedicate even more effort to cultivating his potential and ensuring his growth. The fourth peak master, a contemplative elder, nods in agreement with the sect master, noting that while a reincarnated immortal would carry their own destiny, it would be even better if Li Changsheng were a blank slate, untainted by the world's complexities and free to forge a new path. Li Changxi adds that if Li Changsheng is indeed a pure and untainted individual, it would offer a unique advantage to their sect. Such a person would naturally develop a deeper bond and greater loyalty to Xuandu Temple, which stands as a bastion of the righteous path and justice. Despite his youth, Li Changsheng has become the sworn enemy of the heavenly demon cult's leader, and if the temple cannot protect him, they lose the right to claim they defend righteousness. Breaking the tension with a smile, the sect master expresses his belief that Li Changsheng has the potential to become his personal disciple. His joy is short-lived as Li Changxi's expression darkens, and she firmly objects, informing the sect master that she has already made a prior promise to Li Changsheng. Having earned great merit by exposing a spy from the heavenly demon sect, Li Changsheng is set to become Li Changxi's disciple if he passes the inner sect test, despite the pavilion master's firm opposition. Sensing the growing anxiety among the group, Li Changxi directly asks the pavilion master and the others if they doubt her ability to be a good mentor. The pavilion master finds himself in an incredibly difficult position, struggling to find the right words to handle the situation. He searches for a way to preserve her dignity while preventing the boy's certain death, but he remains hesitant to speak his mind. The third peak master loses his patience and criticizes her, pointing out that all 8 of her previous disciples met untimely deaths. He pleads for her to spare the boy's life, but Li Changxi remains completely unbothered by his harsh accusation. She calmly responds that life is merely a grand dream and that its beauty lies in the depth of one's experiences rather than the number of years lived. She asserts that 10 years under her guidance is worth more than a century with the mediocre, and that life and death are natural parts of the path to immortality. Attributing the deaths of her former disciples to their own lack of strength, she notes that she senses a unique potential within Li Changsheng that sets him apart. Her confidence in him is bolstered by the fact that he managed to manifest a merit lotus while still in the chi refining stage. She believes he can inherit her legacy and eventually ascend as a true immortal, a claim that fills the pavilion master with intense dread. The pavilion master laments her apparent madness, suspecting she has forgotten her medicine and is mistakenly attributing her survival to her own strength. Detecting his skepticism, Li Changxi irritably retorts that a mere body integration cultivator like him is the one who is truly delusional. Dismissing them as being like insects that cannot comprehend the winter frost, she decides she will no longer waste her time arguing with them. She feels that certain truths are simply beyond their understanding, no matter how clearly she might try to explain them. Ultimately, she insists that only she is capable of refining a talent like Li Changsheng, and that letting anyone else teach him would be a waste. To diffuse the escalating tension, the pavilion master proposes that they allow Li Changsheng to choose his own master. Meanwhile, Li Changsheng is in a panic elsewhere as his cultivation begins to spiral out of control, signaling an imminent breakthrough to the foundation establishment stage. Surrounding disciples watch in absolute disbelief as they realize someone is about to achieve a breakthrough right before their eyes. Their shock is well-founded, as the transition from chi refining is the first major barrier that separates true cultivators from those without talent. Foundation establishment marks the second threshold of cultivation and serves as the primary indicator of a cultivator's true talent. This stage filters for those with genuine potential, though only a small minority succeed, with a typical failure rate of 9 out of 10. The process has become significantly easier since the creation of the Foundation Establishment Pill, which increased the success rate to 80%. He feels deeply anxious about his circumstances, wondering if standing out so prominently is wise given his role as an undercover agent. Li TR letter 1B0 letter 1EDD Ng Sin gazes intently at his palm before a mysterious smile crosses his face, and a massive tower suddenly manifests. The blinding light fills the space. He dismisses his worries about being a spy, identifying instead as the top inner disciple of Xuandu Guan. He reasons that as a prime candidate for the future leadership of Xuandu Guan and a rising star of the righteous path, he has nothing to fear. Furthermore, as a rare seed of merit, he realizes that his overwhelming strength would make it impossible to remain humble or hidden. Bitter memories of his past at the heavenly demon sect resurface, reminding him of how he once tried to live quietly and avoid any attention. That passivity led a corrupt outer elder to send him to Xuandu Guan to face certain death, with no high-ranking members stepping in to protect him. He vividly recalls the fierce elder shouting that he had been chosen as a high-level spy and ordered to infiltrate Xuandu Guan the following day. Learning from that painful experience, Lai Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD, Ng Sin decides to become an untouchable genius in the eyes of the Xuandu Guan leadership. He is pleased that reaching foundation establishment caused his bloodlust energy to surge, making his physical body 10 times stronger than it was before. It appears that pure merit and intense bloodlust can coexist and be cultivated together, while the sect master observes him with a sharp, analytical gaze. The sect master notes that the merit has propelled Lai Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD Ng Sin to the peak of the mid-foundation establishment stage and granted him a superior physique. However, the sect master finds it strange that such heavy bloodlust remains in his body, prompting Lai Th letter 1B0 letter 1EDD Ng Hai to offer a calm explanation. While others might avoid trouble after discovering heavenly demon sect spies, Lai Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD Ng Sin decisively reported the matter, showing his resolute nature. This suggests he is not a typical kind-hearted cultivator who lacks ruthlessness, but rather someone who has likely slain many demons in the past. Hearing that it is not surprising for such a person to carry a bloodlust aura, the sect master nods in agreement with the explanation. While performing a technique, the sect master speaks with authority, acknowledging the great service of exposing the heavenly demon sect leader's illegitimate son. Li Changsheng demonstrates exceptional talent and receives a recommendation from branch master Li Mo, prompting the sect master to wave his hand. A powerful surge of spiritual energy flows toward Li Changsheng to soothe the surging bloodlust in his body, allowing him to land steadily on the ground. The second branch master gazes at him with a mix of sternness and guidance, identifying the man as the sect master and head of the 8 branches of Xuandu sect. Urged to pay his respects, Li Changsheng immediately raises his hands in a solemn greeting to the sect master and the various branch masters. The sect master laughs and tells Li Changsheng not to be overly formal before asking if he truly reported a spy from the heavenly demon sect. When asked if he knows the spy's identity, a bewildered Li Changsheng honestly replies that he assumed the mole was merely an ordinary disciple. The hint of teasing in his voice, the sect master explains that Li Changsheng's luck was either very poor or incredibly good to have found such a unique spy. He reveals that the individual Li Changsheng reported was actually the illegitimate son of the notorious Old Demon Yu. Confused, Li Changsheng asks about Old Demon Yu's identity, leading the sect master to realize the young man's humble origins explain his lack of knowledge. The sect master then discloses that Old Demon Yu is the leader of the heavenly demon sect and the most powerful demon currently in existence. Known for his terrifying power and cruelty, the demon leader is feared by all, leaving Li Changsheng stunned by this unimaginable revelation. Li Changsheng is internally distraught, realizing that a casual report has linked him to such a powerful figure and wondering if the demon leader is insane. He questions why anyone would send their own son to infiltrate Xuandu sect and realizes he has become the sworn enemy of the world's strongest demon. Noticing Li Changsheng's extreme anxiety, the sect master offers words of reassurance to calm his fear. He explains that since Li Changsheng has joined Xuandu sect, the sect will naturally protect him from Old Demon Yu's influence. The sect master expresses absolute confidence that no one can touch those under their protection, though Li Xuandu remains lost in thought. Realizing that one cannot stay on guard forever, Li Changsheng rationally points out the dangers he still faces. He argues that if the leader of the heavenly demon sect truly wants him dead, there are many ways to achieve it without acting openly. The sect master continues to reassure him, explaining that the cultivation world has rules regarding someone of old demon Yu's high status. He notes that the demon leader is forbidden from personally attacking a low-level disciple, lest Xuandu's sect retaliate with equal or greater force. Having officially entered the inner sect of Xuandu Temple, Li Changsheng is told that if any demon master dares to bully him, or even harm a single hair on his head, the sect will retaliate by executing every one of that master's true disciples. While expressing his gratitude for the protection, Li Changsheng privately finds the idea naive, as expecting old demon Du to follow rules is like an ostrich burying its head in the sand. Li Changxi catches his attention by mentioning that the news regarding the fallen soldiers has not yet been leaked to the outside world. This means old demon Du is likely unaware, and the sect master assures him that everyone involved will be forced to take a heavenly oath of secrecy. He is told to rest easy because the sect will naturally protect its own, prompting Li Changsheng to offer a solemn and emotional display of gratitude. After thanking the sect master and peak master Li, the stern leader of Xuandu Temple moves directly to the core of the matter. He explains that Li Changsheng was summoned to choose a master, as the leadership is highly impressed by his exceptional talent and accumulated merit. The sect master offers to take him as a personal disciple, leading Li Changsheng to carefully weigh the implications of such a prestigious offer. He recognizes that the sect master is the most powerful figure and the ultimate source of support within the sect. However, the looming threat of old demon Du remains a constant source of anxiety that he cannot easily ignore. Despite the promise of heavenly oaths, he remains uneasy and decides to boldly seek further clarification from the leader. Looking the sect master in the eye, he asks a daring question regarding who is truly stronger between the leader and old demon Du. The blunt question causes the sect master's expression to darken in silence, creating a heavy atmosphere that prompts Li Changsheng to quickly turn to the other peak master. Li Changxi explains that old demon Du is the most powerful figure in the demon realm and the strongest master in the world. She notes that only Fairy Linglong, the undisputed top cultivator of the era, is capable of surpassing the demon lord. Unfortunately, the fairy is currently focused on her heavenly ascension and is unable to accept any new disciple. With a knowing smile and a wink, she then reveals that Fairy Linglong is actually her own mother. Without a moment's hesitation, Li Changsheng drops to the ground and performs the formal bowing ceremony to acknowledge her as his new master. He secretly tells himself that his sudden decision to join her has absolutely nothing to do with her mother being the strongest person in the world. Li Changsheng chooses Li Changxi because she appears kind, though he is secretly fixated on the image of the exquisite fairy's support. Pleased with his decision, Li Changxi smiles and commends his excellent judgment, claiming she is the best possible teacher for him. She explains that her lineage prioritizes quality over quantity, and as her sole recruit this time, he will receive her undivided attention. Although he enters as an inner disciple, he is promised the same resources and status as a core disciple, a condition he readily accepts. After he bows in gratitude, Li Changxi giggles and effortlessly performs a martial technique with a simple wave of her hand. She tells him that formalities are unnecessary now that they are master and disciple, before leading him away as the pavilion master sighs. The pavilion master mutters about the absurdity of the situation, noting how she used a soundproof barrier to deceive the boy into joining her. The second branch master is unsurprised by her antics, as her deceptive recruitment tactics have become a common occurrence. Without such schemes, her Jiao Kuang branch would have remained without a single disciple or even an errand boy for over 3 years. While he does not object to her taking a student, the pavilion master laments that a talent like Li Changsheng is being wasted on her. He points out that senior sister Lin Lung is merely her mother-in-law, and Li Changxi's own husband passed away long ago. The experienced pavilion master realizes that Li Changsheng only chose her to get closer to the influential senior sister, Lin Lung. He remarks that placing a handsome talent with a widow is dangerous, but the more pressing issue is her unreliable cultivation method. The pavilion master expresses deep concern, noting that her approach to teaching is fundamentally untrustworthy and erratic. Although she succeeded personally, all 8 of her previous disciples ended up having their cultivation completely ruined. As he worries that Li Changsheng will suffer the same fate, the 4th branch master notes that it is already too late to intervene. Since Li Changsheng voluntarily performed the apprenticeship ceremony, the masters have no grounds to stop him from following his choice. While the others pray for the boy's luck, a female branch master admits she has a very different perspective on the matter. She confesses that she is actually more concerned for Li Changxi than for the new disciple, sparking curiosity in the second branch master. He wonders if she remembered to take her medicine as the new master and disciple head deep into the territory of her branch. As he walks, Li Changsheng reflects on his two lives, concluding that circumstances often outweigh individual ability in almost every situation. Until his strength can rival that of old Demon Yu, he realizes that Li Changxi remains his most vital protector and benefactor. He resolves to maintain a close bond with her, even contemplating a bold plan to deepen their relationship beyond that of master and disciple. Since Fairy Ling Lung is Li Changxi's mother, he reasons that marrying his master would naturally make the fairy his mother as well. He ponders how to win the heart of his beautiful master, wondering if he should take inspiration from the classic tales of legendary couples. Just as he is lost in these schemes, Li Changxi breaks his train of thought by announcing that they have finally reached their destination. Li Changsheng gasps in amazement as he watches her effortlessly manifest a shimmering spatial gateway right before his eyes. An irresistible force suddenly takes hold of him, pulling his body through the portal and into the unknown. He stands in awe as she leads him into a surreal realm where ethereal mists create a scene of breathtaking, otherworldly beauty. Overwhelmed by the grandeur, he asks where they are, prompting her to smile and ask what the place reminds him of. When he suggests it resembles the Moon Palace, she laughs and confirms that this is indeed her residence, modeled after that celestial place. She informs him that this will also be his new home, a revelation that fills him with immense joy and excitement. While he secretly imagines it as a future bridal chamber, she explains that this is a phantom realm modeled after the True Moon Palace. She describes how the Yeaguang lineage uses illusions to manifest anything from the mind, having created this sanctuary from her own dreams. She explains that their lineage excels in illusion, and at her level of mastery, one can even transform these fabrications into reality. She tells him he can consider this the genuine Moon Palace, prompting him to praise her incredible power and authority. She adds that while she favors this style, he will eventually have the authority to create his own living space within the illusion. He expresses his gratitude, noting that he is perfectly satisfied with the current surroundings and his master's aesthetic. He remarks that his tastes seem to align perfectly with hers, a sentiment that Li Changxi finds quite pleasing. She praises his keen eye and reminds him that their lineage is the greatest of the 8 branches, urging him to uphold its prestige. With a firm tone, Li Changsheng assures his master that he will practice diligently to bring glory to her and the Jiao Guang lineage, leaving her feeling deeply satisfied. She nods in approval, praising him as the only disciple she has recruited in 3 years, which leaves Li Changsheng amazed that she broke her long-standing rule just for him. He resolves that after marrying his master, he will remain devoted to her until his final breath, and as he watches her with a surprised gaze, Li Changxi suddenly uses her magic to glide through the air like a descending fairy, performing a graceful dance before landing softly on the highest seat of authority. Li Changsheng gazes at her sitting regally and wonders if his master has truly lived alone in this vast, empty palace for tens of thousands of years. Li Changsheng suddenly feels a pang of pity for Li Changxi's cold fate as she drinks alone under the quiet moonlight in the vast void. Her isolation from the bustling world creates a profound sense of loneliness that makes anyone want to offer her comfort. She suddenly calls out Li Changsheng's name, interrupting his thoughts to ask how much he remembers of his past life. Stunned by her unexpected question, he freezes as she tells him to stop pretending while maintaining a firm gaze. She reveals her knowledge that he is not from this world and admits that she is an outsider as well, leaving him utterly shocked by her calm confession. She continues in a composed manner, explaining that while he might deceive the temple master and others, he cannot fool her. Claiming they are the same kind, she introduces herself as the Lunar Star Sovereign and asks which deity from the immortal realm he truly is. Li Changsheng begins to worry that his beautiful master might be mentally unstable, leading to an awkward moment of hesitation. He awkwardly identifies himself as the great emperor of longevity of the South Pole, prompting her to remark on the familiar connection she felt during their first meeting. She recognizes him as the Jade Pure True King, one of the 6 sovereigns, and notes that their promised reunion in reincarnation has finally arrived. He covers his face in frustration, inwardly screaming at the realization that his master is indeed suffering from some form of mental delusion. Li Changsheng analyzes the situation, reflecting that he had initially feared she was a transmigrator like himself. He now wishes she were a transmigrator, because her strange behavior and claims lead him toward a much more troubling realization. With a heavy sigh, he reaches the painful conclusion that Li Changxi is simply mentally ill. Though her power and status are genuine, he laments that he seems to have sought refuge with a psychiatric patient instead of a stable mentor. Doubting his safety due to her condition, he watches as she summons a chair and invites him to discuss the Tao as a fellow sovereign. Li Changsheng remains silent, his face reflecting a mix of discomfort and confusion at her formal invitation. He recalls ancient legends stating that the great emperor of longevity of the South Pole, also known as the Jade Pure True King, once manifested as a supreme celestial deity. This deity resides in the Jade Pivot Palace and governs the entire Thunder Department as the ultimate ancestor of all Thunder gods. Interrupting his deep contemplation, Li Changxi asks him with genuine concern when his true soul first awakened. Li Changsheng quickly fabricates a timeline of about a year ago, expressing surprise that even the Lunar Star Lord has recovered her true spirit. Li Changxi confidently claims to be the ruler of the Lunar Star, and a great power equal to the Eastern Emperor Demon Emperor of ancient times. She asserts that they are merely facing a minor illusion, regardless of whether it was created by a saint. She questions how such a thing could cause her to fall, while Li Changsheng notes that her delusional worldview is remarkably consistent. Having been an avid reader of web novels in his past life, Li Changsheng feels his knowledge is more than a match for her eccentricity. After a moment of reflection, Li Changsheng speaks up in agreement, telling the Star Lord that her assessment is correct. He suggests that as lords of the immortal realm, staying conscious within an illusion should not be difficult despite the power of the saint. However, she immediately disagrees, looking at him with firm eyes and telling the Zhen King that he is mistaken. She explains that while staying conscious is easy for them, other beings lack their foundation and are lost in the illusion without knowing. Li Changxi sighs at the pity of it all, while Li Changsheng silently acknowledges that her strength allows her to say whatever she wants. Li Changsheng then curiously asks why the Star Lord fell into this illusion in the first place. Li Changxi smiles and begins a long explanation involving the changing of eras and the transition of the supreme ruler. She describes herself as a ruler of the old era for whom the new era has no place, prompting Li Changsheng to suppress his urge to mock her. He realizes that despite her overwhelming confidence, she is certainly far from being an ordinary person. She calmly adds that she and the Zhen King were once very close, though her memories have not yet fully returned. She notes that if her memory were intact, such long explanations would be unnecessary, making Li Changsheng realize a flaw in his own story. Realizing he must align his narrative with hers to avoid suspicion, he decides that following her lead is the best course of action. Li Changsheng has no choice but to agree with the Star Lord, admitting that his own memories are also not fully restored. He skillfully adds that as the ruler of the lunar star that illuminates the heavens, she is an equal to the Lord of the solar star. He reasons that her immense power as a ruler of the old era would naturally threaten the new ruler, an idea Li Changxi finds very plausible. She explains that her immense power is why they share a similar fate, noting that as a true king and one of the 6 royals, she is technically equal to Haoshan. Li Changsheng's expression shifts as he realizes she is referring to the Haoshan emperor. She continues, explaining that because power is limited, rulers like Haoshan and Zai Wei will never tolerate the existence of a true king. Li Changsheng quickly agrees with Li Changxi, praising her intelligence and confirming that her assessment is entirely correct. Internally, Li Changsheng finds her claims increasingly absurd, but decides to play along to stay in her good graces, continuing his own act. He claims that after the investiture of the gods, he became the great emperor of the South Pole, commanding life, death, and the elements. Li Changsheng feigns distress, claiming he oversees the heavenly path and saves the suffering, but his great power has earned him many enemies. He expresses shame at being trapped in this illusion without knowing his true opponent, prompting her to deduce the culprit. She reasons that while Haoshan was initially weaker, his power grew after entering heaven, though not enough to trap them so easily. She suspects that Sage Junti of the Western sect has secretly allied with Haoshan to trap them in this dream realm. Li Changxi concludes they are trapped in Zhenti's dream world and suggests they may be facing more than one opponent. Li Changsheng is impressed by the internal logic and completeness of her delusions, finding no flaws in her reasoning. With a serious expression, Li Changsheng tells Li Changxi that if a sage like Zhenti is involved, escaping the illusion will be difficult. Li Changxi calmly reassures him, noting that the investiture of the gods proved sages are not truly immortal and can be poisoned or killed. She argues that previous failures by Emperor Jun and the 12 ancestral witches only showed they were not strong enough. With a determined look, she declares her intent to challenge and replace a sage, leaving Li Changsheng to offer a forced smile. He marvels at her madness and grand ambitions, feeling somewhat ashamed of his own lack of drive as a transmigrator. Li Changsheng humbly bows, admitting he cannot match her ambition, and asks to learn from her as they travel together. Li Changxi is energized by his words and praises the true king for his foresight. She notes that he anticipated the danger and prepared well, making their escape from the illusion imminent. Li Changsheng wonders if she had anticipated the danger and prepared in advance, noting how Li Changxi's tone increasingly resembles hers. Li Changsheng asks directly how to break the illusion, and she replies that it is not difficult. She explains that since ascension is a rule of the heavenly Tao, one can escape the illusion and return to the immortal realm by ascending within. With a mischievous look, she acknowledges that although Zhen Wang attained the Tao after her, they are both Daluo immortals and should be treated with respect. She proposes informing the temple master that Zhen Wang will be her fellow disciple, effectively inducting him on behalf of her master. This arrangement would make their status equal, and Li Changsheng smiles and agrees, saying the title is of little importance. Li Changsheng offers his sincere thanks to the Star Sovereign just as the rabbit demon Ying Hongdi rushes in, shouting that her master has forgotten her medicine. She explains that the rabbit is a spirit she enlightened to handle palace chores and tells him he may refer to it as the rabbit manager. She laments that its spiritual nature is inferior to the jade rabbit of the Moon Palace since it cannot see through the illusion, which might seem laughable to him. He smiles and gazes into the distance, remarking that those who understand him know his sorrow, while those who do not think he is searching for something. These words impress Li Changxi, who nods with rare admiration and acknowledges him as a true perfected lord. She notes that only when discussing the Tao with him can she truly speak her mind, while Ying Hongdi continues to urge her to take the medicine. The rabbit insists it was ordered by Fairy Linglong, so she takes the bottle, complaining that she only complies with the illusion's demands to appease them. She tells Zhen Wang not to think she is actually ill, and he nods reassuringly to put her at ease. After swallowing the pill, her demeanor shifts instantly as she abruptly asks him why he is still sitting there. Seeing his confusion, she laughs and says she was joking, assuring him that they will eventually break the illusion together. Ying Hongdi worries that her master's illness is worsening before leading Li Changsheng to his quarters half an hour later. Li Changsheng thanks the rabbit manager, while recalling that Li Changxi had just passed down the golden core inheritance of the Yeaguang lineage to him. He looks at a black card she gave him, which serves as a restricted pass to the palace and allows him to activate the illusion for cultivation. He considers using the card to enter the palace and start his training while thinking about her master. The rabbit turns its head and explains that the master's cultivation has encountered a serious problem involving the Jiaoguang lineage's peerless illusion techniques. Although her talent for illusions is considered the best in the world, her mastery of the craft has far outpaced her actual cultivation level. This imbalance has led her to believe the entire world is merely an illusion, and that she is the only person capable of seeing the truth. Li Changsheng sighs at the complexity of the situation and asks the rabbit if the attempts to treat her condition have been unsuccessful. The rabbit explains helplessly that while they continue to treat her, the master's condition only worsens as her cultivation level increases. Li Changsheng asks with genuine concern if there is any way he can help his master, prompting the rabbit to offer a strange suggestion. The rabbit suggests that if Li Changsheng can find a woman more beautiful than the master and introduce them, it might finally cure her. Still filled with unanswered questions, Li Changsheng wonders why such a specific remedy would work, prompting the rabbit to explain further. With a troubled sigh, the rabbit explains that the master believes she is the lunar deity because of her own limited perception of beauty. Having never encountered a woman more beautiful than herself, she is entirely convinced that she is the peerless, #1 beauty of the celestial realm. The rabbit suddenly remembers to ask Li Changsheng why the master refers to him by the title of True Lord. Li Changsheng reveals that he is the reincarnation of the great emperor of longevity, also known by the title of the Jade Pure True Lord. The rabbit smiles as if reading his thoughts, remarking that the master is a madwoman pretending to be sane, while he is a sane man pretending to be mad. It notes that his quick wit is likely why she recruited him and suggests he might survive longer than his 8 unfortunate predecessors. Alarmed by the mention of 8 unlucky predecessors, Li Changsheng listens as the rabbit asks if he truly thought he was the first inner disciple. When Li Changsheng denies thinking so, the rabbit confirms that he is indeed the only surviving disciple of the Jiao Guang lineage at this time. The rabbit clarifies that it is merely a pet and a housekeeper rather than a disciple, causing a chill to run down Li Changsheng's spine. Li Changsheng asks in disbelief if the rabbit is implying that every disciple who joined the sect before him has already perished. The rabbit demon confirms his fears with a grave expression, fueling Li Changsheng's curiosity about how they all met their ends. The rabbit explains that the master's cultivation methods are incredibly dangerous, as she frequently leads her disciples to their deaths against terrifying demon lords. Even when left alone, she never wavered and continued to fight, leading the rabbit demon to sigh and remark that such a cultivation method was only suitable for rare geniuses like her. For ordinary talents, attempting such training would surely lead to death, especially since their master suffered from mental instability. She frequently led her disciples into extremely perilous situations, causing Li Changsheng to silently weigh the risks of the information he had just received. He wondered if challenging various demon lords was not dangerous enough, while the rabbit demon innocently wished him luck and hoped he would survive past the age of 30. Li Changsheng seriously inquired with the rabbit manager about Li Changxi's condition and what would happen if her mental state continued to deteriorate. Frowning with concern, the rabbit demon explained that if her master's condition worsened, her cultivation would actually deepen and reach even greater heights. Once her power became peerless, she would become normal in her own reality, making everyone else appear insane to her, a prospect the rabbit demon described with visible terror. The world would be completely transformed by her, turning reality into illusion where everything she spoke became truth. Yet Li Changsheng remained calm and thoughtful. Considering his previous cooperation with Li Changxi, he felt such a future might be acceptable, while the rabbit demon held its head and lamented the terrifying possibility. Despite the frightening prospect, Li Changsheng felt a strange surge of excitement, remembering his true identity as the great emperor of longevity. Since his status had been confirmed by the Lunar Star Lord, he considered that instead of curing Li Changxi, helping her increase her cultivation might be a viable option. After walking for a while, the rabbit demon led him to a room and informed him that his master had granted him full authority over the area. Pointing inside, the rabbit explained that he could transform the palace into anything he desired and could begin activating the cultivation illusions. Furthermore, without his permission, neither the master nor the rabbit could enter the palace or know what was occurring within its walls. Observing the room, Li Changsheng noted that an ordinary master would rarely be so generous to a newly arrived inner disciple. He wondered if this was the benefit of having an unstable master, yet he politely expressed his gratitude to both his master and the rabbit manager for their guidance. The rabbit demon warned him to consult other branch masters or seniors, but never to follow their master's advice, as it did not want to dig another grave in the Moon Palace. Li Changsheng was stunned by the mention of graves and was further surprised when the rabbit manager suddenly vanished before he could ask more. Sensing something unusual, Li Changsheng turned around to find the room filled with a thick, mysterious smoke that seemed to signal trouble. Deciding it was best to close the door, he sat alone and examined the black card given to him by Li Changxi, recalling that refining it would open the cultivation illusion. Suddenly, a strange purple dark energy emanates from the card and spreads through the air as a massive gate on the city wall slowly opens. The opening reveals countless monsters and a deafening roar within, creating a terrifying scene as he steps into the area shrouded in thick mist. Lai Truong-sin is taken aback by the sight of the fierce monsters, and notes with skepticism that the illusion feels remarkably real before quickly drawing his sword. Having reached the qi refining stage, he realizes he can now condense his bloodlust qi into physical blades and begins to form a clear plan. He reflects that he never dared to display such demonic power at Haiyan Du Quan, but now he feels liberated as he stands tall to face the monsters. Ready for battle in this illusory realm, he no longer feels the need for restraint and prepares to strike with a single swing of his sword. A surge of bloodlust qi explodes from Lai Truong-sin's body, drowning the area in a gloomy red light as he lands heavily on the ground. The impact creates an immense pressure that makes the ground tremble, and Lai Truong-sin feels the bloodlust chi within him growing increasingly intense. Feeling both satisfied and uneasy, he realizes he cannot let this energy grow uncontrollably, or he will struggle to suppress it upon returning to Haiyan Du Quan. Watching the monsters swarm toward him like a tide, he concludes that he is surrounded and can no longer afford to hold back his full strength. Considering this place an ideal sanctuary for demonic cultivation, he decides to enjoy the slaughter and leaps forward to strike the monster. He muses that he would become far more powerful if such monsters existed in reality, yet he is also relieved that this is merely a dreamlike trial. Otherwise, his identity as an undercover agent would be exposed, and a faint smirk appears as he considers that both demonic and righteous paths have their uses. He believes that any method used for justice is valid, especially since he is currently within the confines of a mere illusion. Without hesitation, Lai Truong-sin unleashes a barrage of fierce attacks to sweep through the monster, determined to fully utilize this illusion for his cultivation. His sole objective is to relentlessly hone his combat and killing skills under the dim, eerie glow of his own bloodlust chi. Unleashing his full power, he slaughters the entire horde, and after 3 hours of intense combat, he lands on ground that has been stained a deep crimson. He is surprised to have manifested the blood river phenomenon while still in the chi refining stage as he surveys the piles of monster corpses around him. This achievement proves he has slain tens of thousands of creatures during this stage, and he realizes that such a phenomenon would have to be suppressed in the real world. With the monster tide annihilated and nothing left to gain from the illusion, he decides to return, and the bloody scene soon begins to fade away. Li Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD, Ng Sin returns safely to his familiar room and breathes a sigh of relief at the sight of his home. Suddenly, he notices an unusual change in his body as a familiar, yet different dark aura begins to envelop him. Realizing the bloodlust within him is dispersing, he is shocked to find that cultivation progress from the illusion can be brought into reality. He is further stunned to see his merit has increased significantly, wondering if saving lives in the illusion earned him such reward. Confused by the nature of the illusion and Li Changxi's erratic behavior, he notes that his demonic cultivation now far exceeds his orthodox techniques. He decides to focus on the Jiao Guang La Huan technique and reaches the entry level by the following morning. While practicing, his command token vibrates with Li Dayan's voice, summoning him to the scripture hall for the first inner disciple lesson. Recognizing the voice, Li Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD, Ng Sin scoffs at the thought of his companion's lack of cultivation talent. He recalls that Li Dayan failed to gather any merit during the previous day's array and wonders how he joined the inner sect. Upon arriving at the hall, he sees Li Dayan waving him over and decides to ask about his entry into the sect. Li Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD, Ng Sin asks if he managed to trigger any merit energy the day before, but Li Dayan immediately denies it. When asked if he possesses a hidden constitution or spirit root, Li Dayan shakes his head and admits his talent is quite poor. Confused as to how he became an inner disciple, Li Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD, Ng Sin listens as Li Dayan confidently explains his unique situation. Li Dayan claims that unlike the others who passed the official exam, he was admitted as a special student with a specific specialty. When asked what his specialty is, Li Dayan proudly states it is his luck in reincarnation, leaving Li Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD Ng Sin feeling speechless. Realizing that Li Changxi is Li Dayan's aunt, Li Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD Ng Sin understands how he could have entered Xuandu Guan so easily. He finds it strange that Li Dayan still insisted on taking the exam before noticing that the other disciples are staring at them. Li Dayan smugly suggests the attention is due to their handsome looks, claiming the women admire them while the men feel inferior. A sudden giggle from Ying Hongai catches Li Tr letter 1B0 letter 1EDD Ng Sin's attention as he looks toward her. Ying Hongai quickly clarifies to the young martial uncle that she is not laughing at his expense. Ying Hongdi explains she is laughing at Li Dayan, prompting a surprised Gui Chengsheng to ask if she knows who he is. She notes that he is the top-ranked inner disciple from this year's exam, while Li Daiyan is the lowest rank. Their presence together draws significant attention, causing Li Daiyan to shout in anger while Gui Chengsheng asks if they are already acquainted. Ying Hongdi confirms they know each other through their respective families, the Li and Ying clans, though they are not close. She mentions her mother forbade her from playing with fools, just as a warm, majestic voice calls out from inside the room. As they are told to enter, Li Daiyan stops his argument and points at her with an aggrieved look before they all follow the order. They file into the room, where Gui Chengsheng is stunned to see that the elder is a female cultivator, missing an arm. As he takes his seat, he realizes that Ying Hongdi and Li Daiyan likely hail from prestigious cultivation families. He assumes the Li and Ying families must be prestigious clans despite never hearing of them, noting that both youths seem to want his friendship. Ying Hongdi leans toward Gui Chengsheng and begins to speak to him in a low whisper. She reveals that the scripture elder was once the master of the Yangxia lineage, until she encountered old demon Yu 20 years ago. After failing to defeat the cruel leader of the heavenly demon sect, she lost her arm, an injury that only a true immortal could heal. She subsequently resigned from her position as lineage master to serve as the scripture elder in this hall. Ying Hongdi warns him to be careful as the elder despises people staring at her injury, leading Gui Chengsheng to reflect on the situation. He considers that the Yangxia lineage is one of the 8 great branches, and notes that the former master is likely older than Li Changxi. Recognizing old demon Yu as a notorious villain, he looks up as the scripture elder fixes a sharp yet gentle gaze on him and asks his name. He respectfully identifies himself, prompting a kind smile and a gentle tone from the elder. She acknowledges his status as the top new inner disciple and offers to provide him with private instruction whenever he needs it. She generously gives Gui Chengsheng an exquisite jade token for free passage to Yangxia Peak, earning his gratitude as he begins to ponder her motive. He wonders if she knows he reported old demon Yu's son, but a steady voice suddenly resonates from the token, telling him not to overthink things. She mentions her lifelong grudge against old demon Yu, which cost her an arm, and notes that while she knows his secret, she has sworn an oath to the heavenly Tao never to reveal it. Turning to the other disciples with a serious expression, she explains that despite Jai Chengsheng ranking first in the inner sect examination, his life will likely be short now that he has joined the Jiao Guang lineage. She adds that he likely won't win the next inner sect competition, and urges the few disciples of Xuandu Guan to support one another rather than envying a man who is already facing death. The disciples respond in unison that they understand, while Jai Chengsheng stands there completely bewildered by the mysterious words of the scripture-passing elder. He wonders why joining the Jiao Guang lineage would shorten his life, and why it would prevent him from winning the inner sect disciple examination in the future. Seeking answers, Jai Chengsheng gathers his courage to ask the elder for the meaning behind her words, to which she responds calmly with a hint of regret in her voice. She acknowledges Jai Chengsheng's exceptional talent and admits she once held him in high regard, but expresses deep regret over his decision to join the Jiao Guang lineage. The scripture-passing elder grows increasingly frustrated and helpless as she describes the Jiao Guang lineage, which is widely known as the disgrace of Xuandu Guan. She notes that if Li Changxi had not recruited more disciples, the Jiao Guang lineage would have long since been abolished from Xuandu Guan. A warm and steady male voice rings out, asserting that his master once taught that among the 8 lineages of Xuandu Guan, Jiao Guang stands as the absolute superior. Scripture-passing elder warns him to be discerning with his master's words, as her judgments are often inaccurate and unreliable, before continuing her lecture on the duties of an inner disciple. She emphasizes that cultivation is the top priority and the core of their path, which also explains the decline of the Jiao Guang lineage. She explains that an orthodox cultivation path with a solid foundation is the most vital factor, much like how the Book of Ying describes a tall building rising from the ground. Every brick serves as a sturdy foundation, leading Jai Changsheng to reflect on the mention of the Book of Ying as he contemplates the elder's words. Realizing this is the first time he has heard of such a nation, he acknowledges the need to quickly expand his knowledge of this vast world. As she continues her lecture, she explains that since they have joined Xuandu Guan, where all 8 lineages possess their own heritages, they will never lack cultivation techniques. Scripture-passing elder highlights a crucial piece of information, noting that the greatest difference between Xuandu Guan and other immortal sects is a special shortcut to rapidly increase one's cultivation realm. That shortcut is the accumulation of merit, and she explains with a profound gaze that Xuandu Guan is a sect that values this above all else. Merit is prioritized here more than anywhere else, and those who possess both great merit and strength are granted superior status and respect. Merit is incredibly mysterious and powerful, capable of protecting one from the invasion of extraterrestrial demons and increasing the chances of surviving heavenly tribulations by 30 to 50%. She explains that merit clarifies the Tao heart and provides the courage to advance, emphasizing its vital role when one needs to break through cultivation bottlenecks. At such moments, a specific amount of merit can be consumed, particularly when utilizing the unique secret techniques of the Xuandu Temple. This allows a cultivator to directly break through their current realm, causing Li Changsheng to marvel internally at the existence of such a beneficial method. He realizes this explains his direct advancement to the foundation establishment stage during the formation, as he possesses a golden lotus of merit and only needs to accumulate more. He envisions reaching the nascent soul stage within a year, Mahayana in 3, and Ascension in 5, at which point old Demon Gua would no longer pose a threat. With 5 years, he would fear nothing, not even taking the demon's wife, while the elder solemnly warns that this convenient method often tempts those with weak wills. Relying on merit as a shortcut makes it difficult to return to genuine cultivation, leading them to lose their Tao heart and become mere wanderers who achieve nothing on the great path. Moved by her profound teachings, the disciples respond in a unified chorus, acknowledging their understanding as their voices echo through the hall. Meanwhile, Li Changsheng remains skeptical, silently harboring his own criticisms of the elder's perspective. Li Changxing considers the scripture elder's perspective narrow, doubting that merit is truly limited since he can accumulate it by slaying monsters within the Moon Palace illusion. Believing that solutions always outweigh problems, he listens as the elder warns that using merit for breakthroughs results in a significant disadvantage. The elder explains that such practitioners are weaker than their peers, citing the Yeaguang branch leader as a prime example of someone who used merit to reach the Golden Core stage. She claims the leader has always been the weakest at her level, and that all of her previous disciples perished when they encountered danger. The elder warns the students to avoid this path, noting that the Yeaguang branch has yet to find a worthy successor because of these failures. As the disciples acknowledge the warning, Li Changxing detects a familiar aura and realizes that Li Changxi is nearby. He is certain that Li Changxi would never agree with the elder's assessment and will surely seek to reclaim her dignity. As the sole disciple of the Yeaguang branch and her future partner, he knows he must stand by her side. Realizing his actions will be observed by both Li Changxi and Fairy Linglong, he decides he cannot betray his master's reputation. Li Changxing boldly interrupts the lecture, stating that he cannot agree with the elder's biased remarks about his master. He argues that as a member of the Yeaguang branch, he cannot remain silent while his master is being publicly insulted. The elder questions his meaning, maintaining that she is simply stating the undeniable truth. Without hesitation, Li Changxing asks the elder to reveal his master's current age. When the elder confirms she is 35, he then inquires about the ages of the other 7 branch leaders in the immortal sect. The elder informs him that the youngest among the other leaders is already 100 years old. Li Changxing proudly points out that his master became one of the 8 powerful branch leaders at the young age of 35. He claims this achievement makes her the greatest genius in the history of Xuandu Guan, leaving no reason for her to feel any shame. Just as he finishes his defense, Li Changxi appears with a bright smile and offers him words of praise. The scene shifts to the ethereal beauty of the Moon Palace, where the landscape is bathed in a mystical, otherworldly glow. Seated regally in the place of honor, Li Changxi maintains a noble and commanding presence as she begins to speak. Although she claims to disregard the opinions of commoners, Li Changxi is deeply pleased that her junior brother stood up for her. Reminding him that immortal rulers should not dwell on mortals, she looks at Li Changsheng and cautions him to avoid such actions in the future. Li Changsheng remains resolute, declaring that while he can endure personal insults, he will never tolerate any disrespect toward his senior sister. Li Changxi lets out a helpless laugh at his intensity, telling him that such protective measures are truly unnecessary. Li Changsheng firmly pushes back, insisting his mind is made up and asking her not to try and dissuade him. He privately reflects that experienced men know to listen selectively when a woman offers a refusal. He reasons that while a genuine refusal is final, a polite rejection requires persistence to overcome. Li Changxi sighs and yields to his stubbornness before suddenly asking if he truly acknowledges her unique cultivation method. Without a moment of hesitation, Li Changsheng confirms his absolute support for the true king's path. He argues that the origin of her power is irrelevant and that one should not obsess over the stability of their foundation. He expresses his long-held belief that no world requires a perfectly flawless cultivation method to be effective. He continues with absolute confidence, explaining that while rapid progress might cause instability, it is irrelevant if the speed of progression is fast enough. He notes that during his golden core stage, he could easily defeat his peers and even eliminate nascent soul cultivators. By the time an enemy reaches the nascent soul stage for revenge, he would have already ascended to the soul transformation realm. Li Changsheng points out that the flaw isn't an unstable foundation, but rather that most people lack the talent to advance so quickly. He concludes that incredible speed grants invincibility, prompting a delighted Li Changxi to agree that speed is the ultimate technique. She asserts that with enough speed, concerns about an unstable foundation or being the weakest in one's rank become meaningless. She laments that her previous 8 disciples failed to understand her, making the true king the only one worthy of discussing the Tao with her. Acknowledging his grasp of her true ambition and talent, she invites him to sit, and he respectfully accepts. Li Changsheng carefully weighs his thoughts, realizing that while Li Changxi possesses a very unconventional mindset, her eccentricity is such that she is often viewed as mentally unstable, yet her theories remain fundamentally sound. While the difficulty of obtaining merit is a potential danger, it poses no challenge for the Jiao Kuang lineage as it can be easily accumulated within illusions. Li Changxi speaks with firm conviction, stating that the rapid cultivation progress of the Jiao Kuang lineage relies on a single core element. That element is merit, though she clarifies with a sharp gaze that her understanding of it differs from that of the scripture-passing elder. Believing merit is easily gathered, she rubs her forehead and explains that the true king only needs to enter the mortal world to fight injustice and act righteously. Such deeds would allow him to return overflowing with merit, a prospect that makes Li Changxi's eyes sparkle with excitement as if she has found a treasure. She notes that the world is filled with injustice and endless merit waiting to be harvested, though her voice suddenly drops with a hidden sorrow. She laments that only she is capable of this, while others choose to deceive themselves and others by praising a false era of peace. They avoid righteous action rather than claiming the merit offered by heaven, prompting Li Changsheng to smile awkwardly as he realizes the truth. He realizes that while others fear the world's powerful figures, Li Changxi dares to confront them due to her unconventional mind and the backing of the world's strongest person. Li Changsheng fully grasps her perspective, leading him to view everyone else present as merely mediocre individuals. This unique position allowed Li Changxi to bravely face danger and survive with the timely assistance of Fairy Linglong. He muses that while others may possess courage, they lack both the absolute support of the world's greatest master and Li Changxi's eccentric mindset. Considering this the likely truth, Li Changsheng reaches a bold conclusion that he could also follow her path, especially since the world's greatest master is involved. Though she is not his biological mother, she may well become his mother-in-law, leading him to speak in a calm tone after a moment of reflection. He reminds her that as the great emperor of longevity, he has witnessed the rise and fall of countless dynasties within the immortal realm. He understands her deeper meaning, noting that the common people suffer whether the world prospers or falls, earning him an admiring look from Li Changxi. Nodding, she affirms that he is truly worthy of being called the true king, as perhaps only the two of them can reach such a profound level of understanding. Li Changsheng offers a modest cough and suggests she is overpraising him, but she firmly insists that her assessment is entirely accurate. She explains that certain truths only hold value when shared with him, as her previous 8 disciples possessed a far too shallow understanding of the mortal world. Li Changxi remarks that only they truly understand one another, and considers it a great fortune to have found such a kindred spirit in Zhen Wang. Feeling awkward in his current position as a dependent, Li Changsheng can only humbly reply that his senior sister is overpraising him. Standing up with determination, Li Changxi states that since Zhen Wang already understands the situation, there is no need for further explanation. She notes that accumulating merit within Xuandu Guan is difficult and instructs him to stop visiting the scripture hall from now on. She plans to personally instruct him for 3 days, after which he will descend the mountain to gather merit, leaving Li Changsheng feeling curious. Li Changsheng asks if merit can be earned within the Yaoguang illusion, and Li Changxi confirms that it is indeed possible. She explains that while merit can be gained there, the process is slower than in the real world since the illusion is not the same as reality. Still confused, Li Changsheng asks how an illusion can produce merit, prompting Li Changxi to offer a serious and solemn explanation. She asks if he believes that the illusion is actually a real world, claiming she is the lunar deity and that her fall would have dire consequences. She warns that the world she once suppressed would face an apocalypse, leading Li Changsheng to realize the gravity of the situation. Li Changsheng concludes that saving a world from the apocalypse is the best way to earn merit, but Li Changxi suddenly laughs and says she was only joking. He asks if he actually believed her, and while he smiles awkwardly, he secretly admits to himself that he did, wondering about the nature of such illusion. He ponders the difference between a fantasy and the real world, noting that the elders and others find merit difficult to obtain. He realizes they lack the method to gain merit through illusions and wonders if this is Li Changxi's private secret, feeling somewhat helpless. He observes that Li Changxi's mental state is still unstable, and she may not fully understand the situation herself before he suddenly remembers something. Li Changsheng asks if he can leave the mountain so easily, and Li Changxi gently replies that they are both powerful beings from the immortal realm. She explains that ordinary lessons in Xuandu Guan are meaningless, and that the true path lies in performing righteous deeds to accumulate merit. Li Changsheng agrees to follow her guidance, though he begins to suspect a harsh and unpleasant truth. He realizes how his 8 predecessors likely died, concluding that Li Changxi's teaching method leads disciples to their deaths in pursuit of merit. She warns that his early foundation establishment stage is unstable, but reassures him that it will not matter once he reaches the middle stage. Li Changxi advises Li Changsheng that as a true king, he should focus on a forceful breakthrough rather than stabilizing his foundation, a logic he respectfully acknowledges. Reflecting on the fate of his 8 predecessors, Li Changsheng inwardly notes their deaths were justified while reminding his sister he only reached the foundation establishment stage a day ago. She calmly explains that since their true cultivation levels are at the Great Luo stage, practicing within this illusion is merely for amusement. Li Changsheng wonders if he must truly start from the beginning, as Li Changxi hands him a bag to assist in his cultivation. Recognizing the top-grade spirit stone, he listens as she explains that his status as the top inner disciple earns him a monthly stipend of 10 such stones. She notes that as the only 2 members of the Yaoguang lineage, he has full access to the illusion's spiritual energy, but a breakthrough also requires merit. Believing he still has unused merit, she instructs him to expend it all, explaining that new merit cannot be gained until the old is exhausted. She urges him to use his incredible cultivation speed to shock the others at Xuandu Temple, prompting Li Changsheng to fully commit to his role without flaw. Without hesitation, he activates his martial techniques and chants to convert his accumulated merit into points. At that moment, a surge of blood-red killing intent erupts with shocking intensity, leaving Li Changsheng wide-eyed with astonishment. The killing intent expands like a massive, suffocating tree, causing him to panic as he realizes the situation has spiraled out of his control. He worries about how to explain this overwhelming aura, fearing the consequences of such a visible display of slaughter. Recalling how Li Changxi killed a soldier for merely condensing blood-killing intent, he struggles to find a way to navigate this predicament. Li Changxi gasps in surprise, her voice filled with confusion as she mentions the blood river overturning fist. She remembers that a river of blood signifies the death of tens of thousands, yet she remains trustful of Li Changsheng. She reasons that as the great emperor of longevity of the South Pole, he naturally presides over life, death, and the slaying of demons. Since he judges good and evil and commands the thunder, she concludes that it is only logical for him to be surrounded by countless souls. She approaches him and pats his shoulder, reassuring him that carrying an immense blood debt is normal for someone of his divine status. Maintaining his composure, Li Changsheng praises her insight while noting that others might mistake him for a spy from the demonic cults. Li Changxi giggles at his remark, though she admits that those with limited vision might indeed misinterpret his power. Li Changxi tells him to stop worrying about the others and seize the moment to break through, while Li Changsheng feels relieved that his secret has been perfectly rationalized. Feeling satisfied and unburdened, he decides to stop being formal and begins using his merit to advance his cultivation level. Recognizing merit as an unparalleled tool, Li Changsheng focuses on his cultivation and senses the threshold of the mid-foundation establishment stage before a grand scene unfolds. Intense flames erupt around him as he breaks through, releasing a terrifying pressure that warps the surrounding space until he finally feels a sense of relief. Having officially reached the mid-foundation establishment stage, he gains full control over the Blood River vision and merit aura, prompting an excited Li Changxi to claim they are both Daluo-level quasi-saints. She remarks that breaking through these mortal realms is effortless for them, and suggests that he take a moment to rest now that he has reached the mid-stage. When she offers to help him reach the late foundation establishment stage, Li Changsheng tries to decline by claiming his merit is insufficient, hoping to avoid any further unexpected vision. Dismissing his concerns with a wave of her hand, Li Changxi reminds him that she is the reincarnation of the Lunar Star Lord and is no ordinary person. She explains her special method for transferring merit, where the closer their bond, the more merit is shared, and vows to help him since he has accepted her as his senior sister. Without further delay, Li Changxi prepares to transfer her merit to him, while Li Changsheng reflects on the situation. As she begins the risky process of transferring her merit into his body, Li Changsheng remains unmoved by her gesture, but then an unexpected event occurs. The Blood River vision becomes uncontrollable once more as a massive surge of bloodlust aura erupts, causing the master of the Xuandu temple to cry out in shock. The third peak master suspects someone is boldly practicing demonic arts within the temple, tracing the aura back to Li Changxi's residence in disbelief. While the peak master struggles to believe Li Changxi could be involved, Li Changsheng can only rub his forehead in a state of utter helplessness. Overwhelmed by despair, he fears his identity as a demonic cult spy has been exposed and frantically searches for a solution to this urgent crisis. Short while later, Li Changxi approaches him with joy, congratulating him on successfully advancing to the late foundation establishment stage in a single day. She laments that at least half of the transferred merit was wasted, as she had truly hoped to push his cultivation all the way to the golden core stage. Despite his internal anxiety, Li Changsheng looks at her with feigned gratitude and tells her that he can handle his own cultivation from now on. When he mentions that there might be a small problem, a confused Li Changxi asks for clarification, leading him to calmly remind her of his background. He explains that his journey was paved with slaughter, but she dismisses his serious tone, noting that even saints were involved in the Great Investiture War. Li Changxi continued her explanation, describing how countless powerful beings from the human, demon, and Wu tribes fought for the 365 divine position. She noted that the final victors were 360 main gods and the 5 strongest emperors, with her junior brother being one of those 5. He was the great emperor of longevity of the South Pole, one of the 6 sovereigns who had fought through the Great Tribulation to become a heavenly emperor, making a path of blood and corpses inevitable. Li Changsheng found her reasoning surprisingly logical and plausible, causing a faint, amused smile to play across his lips. He felt a genuine interest in interacting with those who were mentally unstable, as their worldviews were remarkably comprehensive. Their logic was impenetrable, but he eventually forced a smile and looked at Li Changxi, explaining that while she knew his origins and believed in him, others might not. He noted that the other members of Xuandu Guan were merely ordinary mortals who had never seen through the illusions. He feared they would fail to understand his true identity and continued with feigned anxiety, mentioning rumors of a heavenly demon sect spy among the disciples. He expressed fear that someone might frame him as a spy, but Li Changxi immediately dismissed his concerns without hesitation. She told him he was overthinking things, insisting that he was clearly a good person and an upright member of Xuandu Guan. She claimed that not even a fool would mistake him for a spy, and seeing her unwavering trust, Li Changsheng reflected on his own situation. He reminded himself that he was the one who had exposed the illegitimate son of the heavenly demon sect's leader. He felt that suspecting him would be as ridiculous as claiming the old demon was a saint who would sacrifice his own son for the greater good. Suddenly, a loud shout from outside the gate shattered the silence, demanding that Changxi open the moon gate immediately. Li Changsheng had already anticipated this, knowing the Blood River phenomenon would inevitably alert the high-ranking officials of Xuandu Guan. He prepared himself for a rigorous interrogation by the council, but Li Changxi immediately stepped in to reassure him with a firm tone. She told him not to be afraid, asserting that they were invincible in the immortal realm and that such a small illusion was of no consequence. Gaining confidence, he watched the Peak Masters enter and agreed with his senior sister's words as the sect master led the way. The sect master entered with a scowl of displeasure, while the fourth Peak Master whispered his concerns that Changxi had indeed led the boy onto a demonic path. The second Peak Master was shocked to see he had already reached the late stage of foundation establishment, noting the blood energy entering his body and the reversing river of blood. The bloodthirsty aura definitely originated from the young man, as Li Changsheng finally stops hiding and reveals his dense, murderous energy. The temple master irritably demands an explanation for the blood river phenomenon, to which Li Changxi responds with complete composure. She explains without hesitation that the sight was caused by her junior brother killing countless people, leaving the temple master in disbelief at their relationship. He firmly declares that Li Changsheng is the reincarnation of the great emperor of longevity, leading her to accept him as a fellow disciple on their master's behalf. Another branch master expresses utter disbelief at the mention of the great emperor of longevity, while the temple master mocks them both for being insane. The temple master remarks that the madness has clearly spread from the senior to the junior, while the first branch master sighs in deep disappointment. Having previously held high expectations for Li Changsheng, the first branch master laments that the temple is now filled with both real and fake lunatics. Meanwhile, the third branch master maliciously suggests that the young man is actually a spy sent by the heavenly demon sect. When the temple master harshly demands an explanation, Li Changsheng calmly suggests that the one who accused him of being a spy should be executed. The temple master is stunned by the bold remark, while the first branch master clenches his fists in a rage and dares the boy to repeat himself. Li Changsheng nonchalantly repeats his suggestion, calling for the execution of the fool who is spreading delusions and misleading the crowd. He argues that keeping such a person only degrades Xuandu Temple, as even a pig would realize he is not a spy for the heavenly demon sect. As the man furiously points at him, Li Changsheng insults his intelligence and notes the murderous intent the man has shown since they met. Li Changsheng dismisses the man's identity, calculating that with his current cultivation speed, it will not take long before he can kill him. He sees no reason to worry about someone who is already destined to die, even as the temple master warns him that he is speaking to Elder Bai. Li Changsheng remains undeterred, stating that a fool is still a fool regardless of their title, leaving the temple master feeling completely helpless. The first branch master screams in a fit of rage, vowing to show the boy his true power, but Li Changsheng is suddenly distracted by a fast-moving shadow. To his surprise, Li Changxi suddenly lunges forward before anyone can react. With a single, deceptively simple but devastating strike, she instantly kills the first branch master and issues a chilling warning to the other. Her voice rings out with authority as she declares that her junior brother is one of the 6 sovereigns of the heavenly court and should never be questioned. After the unwanted party is ordered to leave, Li Changsheng gazes at her with admiration, wondering if this is the true benefit of having a powerful backer. Completely smitten and shocked, Li Changsheng is stunned by Li Changxi's unexpectedly decisive and ruthless action taken right in the middle of the crowd. He observes that her bold move faced no real opposition, with the sect master wearing a discreet smile and many onlookers appearing to gloat over the scene. Realizing the prestigious Xuandu Guan sect is filled with dangerous undercurrents, he fears his efforts would be in vain if he died here, as the sect master sighs to break the tension. The sect master tells Li Changxi that her actions are hard to overlook because, despite her immunity from Fairy Linglong, she killed the influential Elder Bai. Showing no signs of fear, Li Changxi bluntly dismisses the importance of killing a member of the Bai family. She claims that no one in the Bai family is truly innocent, and tells the sect master to stop pretending to be virtuous and laugh if he wants to. She asserts that the sect master is actually the most pleased by the death and questions if he is using this as an opportunity to suppress a rival. She irritably asks if he intends to remove the top inner disciple of this generation, to to make way for his own faction to take power. With a sharp gaze, she asks if they really believe her junior brother is a spy for the heavenly demon cult, while the sect master warns her to be careful despite his trust in him. The sect master explains he needs a justification for the other disciple, but Li Changxi fiercely argues that her junior brother owes no explanation to anyone. She insists that anyone her junior brother kills deserves to die, making an investigation pointless, while the third peak master glares at her in anger. Sect Master restrains the angry third peak master, but notes that the Bai family will certainly bring charges to the law hall for the unauthorized killing. He advises her to stay inside for the time being, prompting Li Changxi to ask if she is being confined to the Moon Palace. Li Changsheng observes that the sect master does not seem as angry or authoritative as he had expected during this encounter. Despite being insulted by Li Changxi, the sect master leaves in a strangely cheerful mood after noticing Li Changsheng's curiosity. Li Changxi asks if he is curious about the sect master's attitude and explains that the man is an old-timer who holds no ill will toward them. He clarifies that the sect master does not suspect him and that his visit was merely a formality to satisfy the sect's requirement. She identifies the man from the Bai family as the one with truly malicious intention, leaving Li Changsheng confused as he has no history with him. She points out that he is already acquainted with Bai Guanglin, and when Li Changsheng asks who that is, she provides a brief explanation. With the tone of contempt, she explains that Bai Guanlin is merely a useless youth from the Bai family who was expected to rank first in the inner disciple examination before Li Changsheng's arrival. Li Changsheng's sudden and brilliant rise to prominence diverted all attention away from Bai Guanlin, and more crucially, seized the valuable resources intended for him. Li Changsheng finally understands that his rapid breakthrough was achieved not only through his accumulated merit, but also thanks to an abundance of spirit stone. He realizes that the resources awarded to the top-ranked inner disciple are twice the amount given to the one in second place. After reflecting briefly, Li Changsheng asks his senior sister if he is obstructing the Bai family and inquires about the extent of their power. Li Changxi dismisses his concerns, stating that the Bai family is insignificant compared to the Li family and that he should simply rely on her mother's protection. Feeling reassured, Li Changsheng commits the names of the Bai family and Bai Guanlin to memory before suddenly recalling another important matter. He asks if killing Elder Bai will cause any major trouble, but Li Changxi quickly dismisses the idea, asserting that anyone she kills deserves their fate. She explains that the current situation is a mere formality and that the sect master will soon provide evidence justifying the elder's execution. Li Changsheng is struck by how terrifying the situation is, realizing that the rules of Xuandu Guan are applied differently depending on the individual involved. Li Changxi strongly affirms that with sufficient strength, even the laws of heaven become as meaningless as scrap paper. She considers the mundane regulations of Xuandu Guan trivial and finds the concepts of righteous or evil paths to be ultimately meaningless. She believes that only the strong command respect and hold the power to decide all things, prompting Li Changsheng to look at her with deep gratitude. Agreeing with her perspective, Li Changsheng then asks about the seemingly strained relationship between the sect master and the Bai family. Li Changxi patiently explains that the Bai family had openly voted against the current sect master before he assumed his position. She notes that if her mother had not been so decisive in appointing the current leader, Xuandu Guan might have fallen under the control of the Bai family. Li Changsheng realizes that as the premier immortal sect, the sect master of Xuandu Guan holds a status comparable to a world leader in his previous life. Utilizing his extraordinary keenness, Li Changsheng begins to carefully analyze the political landscape surrounding the sect. He concludes that the Bai family's public opposition to the sect master was an act of betrayal far more serious than even a personal blood feud. Recognizing it as a direct challenge to authority that cannot be ignored, he begins to evaluate the situation based on the sect master's behavior that day. It appears the pavilion master is waiting for someone to challenge the Bai family, and if he takes the lead, the master will likely help conceal his action. Even if he were caught red-handed during an assassination, he feels ready to proceed as the scene shifts to the peak master's residence. Pavilion master's boisterous and unusually gleeful laughter echoes through the area while peak master Shen Ziu, a refined and elegant woman, looks on. Frowning slightly, she cautiously reminds her senior brother to restrain himself, warning that the Bai family might cause trouble if they see his delight. Despite her fears of impending trouble, The pavilion master dismisses her concerns with contempt, declaring that the Bai family is nothing to him. He claims he would have wiped them out long ago if not for senior sister Ling Long, leaving peak master Shen Xiu to watch the situation with a silent sigh. The Bai family serves as the marital home for senior sister Lin Lung, whose immense influence ensures that no one dares to challenge the clan. As Changsheng Lung's youngest son and the family's chosen successor, Bai Guanlin's rise to power poses a direct and lethal threat to Li Changsheng. Many would likely conspire against Li Changsheng to clear a path for Bai Guanlin, a realization that causes the temple master to sigh with helplessness. Acknowledging the validity of these concerns, Li Changsheng feels a ruthless determination begin to take hold within his mind. Realizing this has become a life-or-death struggle against the Bai family, Li Changsheng finds himself drifting back into his distant memory. Few at Xuandu Temple truly know him or his past, where he had spent only 2 years in the workforce using his charm and social skill. He had nearly become the son-in-law of a powerful deputy mayor before a sudden accident transported him into this unfamiliar world. Showing a strong ability to adapt, he had once weighed the options of finding a wealthy patroness or pursuing fame through the imperial examination. Fate intervened again when he was captured by the heavenly demon sect, instead of finding the comfortable life he had initially sought. Li Changsheng reflects on the year it took to establish himself within the sect before he was eventually dispatched to Xuandu Temple. His life seems to be a cycle of fleeting hope, where every hard-won opportunity is snatched away shortly after he manages to grasp it. Haunted by past bitterness and the fear of his true identity being exposed, he struggles to find any sense of security in his current position. With his senior sister Li Changxi suffering from mental instability and the Bai family showing open hostility, his situation grows increasingly dire. Li Changsheng understands that even if he were to seek peace, the Bai family would never allow him to live without constant interference. Because the Bai family has meticulously planned Bai Guanlin's future, Li Changsheng's presence as a commoner is seen as a significant obstacle. Knowing they will stop at nothing to eliminate him for their son's sake, he realizes he must strike first to gain the upper hand. Li Daiyan rushes over to warn him that the man in white is Bai Guanlin, who has clearly arrived with the intention of causing trouble. She quietly advises her junior martial uncle to avoid a direct confrontation with the newcomer while he still has the chance. Observing his rival warily, Li Changsheng realizes that news of the recent incident has already spread throughout the temple, leaving no secrets. Bai Guanlin approaches with a forced smile and a sycophantic tone, claiming he has come to apologize for a supposed misunderstanding. Since the Xuanwang Merit Tower recognized the young martial uncle's merit, he cannot be a member of the heavenly demon cult, leading Bai Guanlin to suggest his uncle simply misunderstood, while Li Changsheng watches him with silent contempt. Li Changsheng reflects that a biting dog never barks and realizes this dangerous individual must be eliminated soon to prevent him from becoming a catastrophic threat in the future. Bai Guanlin's followers join in with mocking tones, condescendingly remarking that their master is being far too polite toward Li Changsheng. They demand to know why Li Changsheng refuses to accept the apology, especially since Bai Guanlin humbled himself to make amends despite the death of Elder Bai. They condemn the Yaeguang lineage as utterly overbearing, while Bai Guanlin delivers a blunt warning with a gaze full of smugness and arrogance. Bai Guanlin declares that because Li Changsheng has offended the Bai family, he will never be permitted to set foot inside Xuandu Guan again. With a confident smirk, he asserts that even Li Changxi will be unable to protect him, yet Li Changsheng remains completely unfazed. A wicked smile plays on Li Changsheng's lips as he dismisses the youth as a mere child and decides to demonstrate the skills of a true master actor just before a sudden turn of events. Li Changsheng suddenly coughs up a spray of bright red blood and staggers backward before collapsing heavily onto the ground. From the ground, he weakly questions in a voice filled with pain and indignation if this is what Bai Guanlin considers an apology, prompting the latter to panic and offer a frantic explanation. Visibly panicked, Bai Guanlin denies any involvement while Li Daiyan rushes to support Li Changsheng and turns to shout angrily at his rival. Li Daiyan accuses Bai Guanlin of being a coward who refuses to take responsibility for his actions, calling him a true hypocrite. Ying Hongdi joins the criticism with a look of utter disdain, remarking that Bai Guanlin is a two-faced actor whose talents are being wasted outside of a theater. A flustered and red-faced Bai Guanlin insists that Li Changsheng is merely putting on an act, but Li Daiyan charges toward him and roars, asking if he takes them for fools. Li Daiyan sternly argues that Li Changsheng would never harm himself, leaving Bai Guanlin completely stunned and unable to find any words to defend himself. With a gaze as sharp as a blade, Ying Hongdi continues her harsh criticism, questioning if Bai Guanlin truly dared to let his Dao protector bully the weak. She warns that such actions have completely violated the rules of Xuandu Guan and asks if he wishes to be punished at the law hall, provoking an infuriated Bai Guanlin to shout back at her. Bai Guanlin argues that the ban on Dao protectors entering the mountain is an absolute rule he would never dare to break, leading Ying Hongdi to silently weigh his words. Xuandu Guan is renowned for having the world's densest spiritual energy and the best cultivation conditions. It maintains a strict regulation forbidding any disciple's Dao protector from remaining on the mountain. However, given that Bai Guanlin is the youngest son of the powerful fairy Linglong, it remains uncertain whether these rules are truly enough to deter or bind someone of his status. Bai Guanlin insists indignantly, questioning why no one believes his account of the events as the absolute truth. Li Daiyan remains skeptical and coldly retorts that while one may know a person's face, their heart remains hidden, labeling Bai Guanlin a hypocrite. He accuses Bai Guanlin of deceiving the world for fame, noting that anyone without Li Changsheng's immense strength would have been killed by the sneak attack. Losing his composure, Li Daiyan suddenly grabs Bai by the collar, prompting a low growl from the latter about seeking death. Li Daiyan shouts for everyone to witness the blatant threat, declaring that Bai Guanlin should be held responsible if anything happens to him. To prevent the situation from escalating further, Bai Guanlin reluctantly releases Li Daiyan's collar while Li Changsheng observes the scene and calculates his next move. While losing control is common for inexperienced youths, Bai Guanlin's sudden restraint reveals his potential as a cunning and calculating schemer. Li Changsheng realizes that someone with the temperament of a ruler cannot be allowed to remain, and he senses that staying there any longer is pointless. Bai Guanlin suggests reporting the matter to the discipline hall for the elder to preside over, an intention that Li Daiyan immediately sees through. Li Daiyan mocks the idea of a fair trial given Bai Guanlin's prestigious background, prompting Ying Hongdi to nudge him and warn him to watch his words. Li Daiyan continues to insist on Bai Guanlin's guilt, while the latter orders his subordinates to summon the discipline hall's law enforcement elder. Wiping blood from his lip, Li Changsheng asks about the elder's character, and Ying Hongdi explains that despite his ties to the master, he is known for fairness. Li Changsheng analyzes that the elder's ties to the master are favorable, and though Ying Hongdi likely knows the truth, it no longer matters as the elder arrives. The subordinate respectfully shows the elder the way, and Bai Guanlin performs a formal greeting, requesting that justice be upheld on his behalf. To his surprise, the law enforcement elder angrily rebukes him, asserting that he enforces the law with absolute impartiality and no personal bias. The elder mentions that someone had already asked for leniency on Bai Guanlin's behalf, leading the young man to smile before the elder begins to shout a warning. The elder warns that failing to impose a strict punishment now would only lead Bai Guanlin to commit even greater transgressions in the future. He orders Bai Guanlin to be confined to his cave for 3 days of self-reflection as an example to others, warning of severe consequences for any repeat offenses. Bai Guanlin protests his innocence, but the elder glares at him for his insolence, pointing out that Li Changsheng's injuries are undeniable evidence. Accusing him of insubordination and questioning his integrity, the elder draws his weapon as Bai Guanlin's face darkens with resentment and defiance. A firm voice declares that the decision is not his to make as Bai Guanlin is suddenly bound and rendered immobile. The powerful elder drags the struggling Bai Guanlin away for punishment, while his followers quickly retreat after realizing the situation has turned against them. Watching the scene unfold, Li Daiyan joyfully praises the law enforcement elder for his wisdom and sense of justice. He plans to personally present the elder with a silk banner as Ying Hongdi asks Li Changsheng why the law enforcement elder decided to help them. When she asks for an explanation, Li Changsheng reveals that he has understood the underlying reasons for quite some time. Li Changsheng analyzes the situation, noting that as the world's premier immortal sect, the Xuandu Guan must maintain incredibly strict rules. Drawing from 2 years of office experience in his previous life, he understands how large organizations function and recalls a recent incident. He remembers when Li Changxi killed a member of the Bai family right before the sect master, who appeared pleased rather than angry. This revealed the sect master's true stance, giving Li Changsheng the confidence to openly display his hostility toward the Bai family. He believes the sect master will not reject his alliance, as the leader clearly desires someone to step forward and challenge the Bai clan. By taking the initiative, he ensures the sect master's protection in a silent, reciprocal agreement between two intelligent individuals. Despite Bai Guanglin's youth and lack of experience, his birth into a powerful family makes him a threat that cannot be ignored. After careful consideration, Li Changsheng addresses Ying Hong, who shrewdly smiles and suggests he simply call her by her first name. Li Changsheng agrees and suggests they both drop the formal titles, noting that she seems to share a deep animosity with Bai Guanglin. He easily senses the underlying hostility between them, recognizing that their relationship is fraught with extreme tension. Blood feud between their families and the inner disciple rankings, with Li Changsheng first, Bai Guanglin second, and Ying Hong'ai third, make harmony with them impossible. Li Changsheng finally understands the situation, realizing that the top two ranks are naturally inclined to be at odds. He notes that even the second and third ranks harbor mutual dislike, seeing an opportunity to utilize such talented individuals. After weighing his options, Li Changsheng asks Hong'ai for a favor, hoping she will be willing to assist him. She promises to do her best within her capabilities, prompting Li Changsheng to get straight to the point without any hesitation. Li Changsheng asks Ying Hongdi for a detailed list of those who left with Bai Guanlin, and she finds the request easy to fulfill despite her surprise. When she questions his motives, Li Changsheng cryptically explains with a deep smile that he wants to see if these enemies can be turned into friends. Internally, he knows that is impossible, as the entire group suffered a humiliating public defeat alongside Bai Guanlin earlier that day. Aware that some may harbor deep resentment, he understands that every step in the cultivation world is fraught with hidden dangers. Believing only the dead can truly be trusted, he decides they must be eliminated as Ying Hongdi begins describing the four inner disciples among them. These individuals have only reached the early foundation establishment stage, and their families have long been subordinates of the Bai clan. Some join the sect merely to exploit Bai Guanlin's influence, and she soon presents Li Changsheng with an exquisitely rolled scroll. She warns him that befriending these people is futile, as the conflict between them has become fundamentally irreconcilable. As she hands over the list, Li Changsheng feels a surge of excitement at having a valid reason to eliminate them, admiring her sharp intuition. He reflects on how, unlike the destructive and spoiled Li Daiyan, Ying Changsheng is a true elite of her family with great vision. Li Changsheng expresses his gratitude by telling her he owes her a favor for providing such valuable information. Ying Hongdi gracefully dismisses the gesture as a minor matter before departing to resume her cultivation, leaving Li Changsheng to bid her farewell. The scene shifts to the picturesque Yangtze Peak, where clear streams and mountain dwellings create a landscape of transcendent beauty. Li Changsheng examines the token previously given to him by the scripture elder, which grants him special access. This item allows him to enter the scripture hall in Yangtze Peak freely, but he also produces Bai Guanlin's sound transmission talisman. He recalls using illusions and subtle tricks to swap the talisman during their earlier confrontation, without Bai Guanlin noticing. These talismans function much like communication apps on Earth, allowing users to maintain contacts and exchange messages. Most of the people on Ying Hongdi's list are stored in the talisman, confirming that many of Bai Guanlin's associates are from Yangtze Peak. Realizing that even Li Daiyan is a disciple there, Li Changsheng wonders if Yangtze Peak is a stronghold for influential families to consolidate power. Suddenly, the token in his hand begins to glow with a faint light, revealing an image of Bai Guanlin and bringing a smile to his face. The scripture elder's token has signaled that Bai Guanlin has left the mountain, prompting Li Changsheng to begin his move. The Jiao Guang illusion technique is working, allowing the plan to destroy the nest before striking the tiger to proceed as the scene shifts back 10 minutes. Bai Guanlin stares intently at a mysterious note he discovered on his person after returning to his room, wondering how it got there. Scanning the words on the aged paper, Bai Guanlin reads a message from someone claiming to be a covert disciple of the heavenly demon sect. The writer explains they were planted in Xuandu Temple long ago, but now wish to defect to the righteous path, though they fear the temple will reject them. The note offers to frame Li Changsheng as a spy in exchange for protection, causing Bai Guanlin to feel a mix of suspicion and excitement as he continues reading. The mysterious informant claims to possess undeniable evidence of secret collusion between the current temple master and the high-ranking leaders of the heavenly demon sect. Bai Guanlin's heart races as he reads the final instruction to meet at the Qingfeng Inn at the foot of the mountain at midnight for a one-time opportunity. The note warns him to come alone or the informant will not appear, leading Bai Guanlin to believe there truly is a traitor within Xuandu Temple. Despite his suspicions about the note's origin, Bai Guanlin considers the risk of leaving while he is currently serving a sentence of confinement. Knowing his punishment would double if caught, Bai Guanlin's anger flares as he curses the restrictions and throws the paper to the ground. Dismissing the rules as unable to bind him, he takes a deep breath to calm himself and carefully analyzes the potential of the situation. He reasons that if the letter is genuine, this is a unique opportunity that will never come again if he misses it. If the information is true, the Bai family would gain absolute leverage and might even be able to overthrow the current temple master. Furthermore, he could finally eliminate Li Changsheng, and even if it were a trap, the Bai family guards stationed nearby would ensure his safety. Without further hesitation, Bai Guanlin leaves his room to head down the mountain, falling perfectly into the trap set by Li Changsheng. As soon as Bai Guanlin departs, Li Changsheng slips in and assumes his identity, authoritatively ordering everyone to gather in his room while secretly calculating his next move. With a cold glint in his eyes, Li Changsheng decides it is more efficient to eliminate everyone at once, while Du Xiaozhao looks on with concern. Du Xiaozhao questions the risk of breaking sect rules by gathering while Bai Guanlin is supposed to be in confinement, but Li Changsheng remains undeterred. Dismissing the sect rules with a wave of his hand, the disguised Li Changsheng watches as Du Xiaozhao and the others arrive and announce their presence. Li Changsheng is surprised by their absolute obedience, as they rush to Bai Guanlin's side without any regard for violating sect rule. As Du Xiaozhao approaches, Li Changsheng watches her warily while a chilling thought begins to take shape in his mind. Realizing the threat from the Bai family is far greater than he imagined, he decides that Bai Guanlin and these followers cannot be allowed to survive. Du Xiaozhao asks with an admiring gaze how he managed to break the restrictive seal placed by the discipline elder. Recognizing Du Xiaozhao and her complex history with Bai Guanlin, Li Changsheng adopts a smug tone to explain his success. He claims to possess a special Dharma treasure granted by his family, while privately deducing the nature of her relationship with Bai Guanlin. The Du family serves as loyal vassals to the Bai family, and Du Xiaozhao has been betrothed to Bai Guanlin since they were children. Destined to become his concubine after his formal wedding, she massages his legs while Li Changsheng reflects on the advantages of being born into an elite, immortal lineage. Everything from his future and marriage to his treasures and path to power had been meticulously arranged for Bai Guanlin since the moment of his birth. Li Changsheng views himself as an unforeseen anomaly in Bai Guanlin's life, a mistake that the Bai family would never allow to persist. He concludes that he must strike the Bai family first, just as Du Xiaozhao resentfully blames Li Changsheng for framing her senior brother. She declares that Li Changsheng deserves to die and reassures Bai Guanlin that her family's retainers will eliminate him once he leaves the mountain. Continuing his charade, Li Changsheng solemnly announces that he has gathered them to discuss how to handle the threat he supposedly poses. He describes himself as a cunning adversary who enjoys the protection of both Li Changxi and the temple master. He argues that they must strike first to prevent him from causing further harm, as his schemes have already become too bold to ignore. A young man reassures him that while the mountain provides safety, Li Changsheng will be unable to cause any trouble once he is alone in the outside world. A purple-haired girl agrees, noting that sect rules protect him for now and that they must find a way to lure him away from the mountain. She believes that once Li Changsheng leaves the sect's protection, he will be completely defenseless and easy to capture. A brown-haired woman suggests hiring the Assassin Alliance, arguing that there is no need to get their hands dirty when spirit stones can solve the problem. Li Changsheng remains silent, carefully listening to every detail of their plan to eliminate him. He reflects on how these individuals possess prestigious backgrounds and the power to easily crush ordinary people like himself. He realizes they have too many resources at their disposal and decides they must never leave the mountain, as it is the only place where he holds the advantage. With a meaningful smile, Bak Quan Lam warmly gestures for everyone to sit and make themselves comfortable. He offers them fresh spiritual fruits and premium spiritual wine to enjoy during their conversation, and the disciples obediently follow his lead. As they take their seats at the stone table, the group expresses their deep respect and gratitude towards senior brother Ba. While sipping the clear spiritual wine, Lai Truong-sin muses that a true leader must never be stingy or petty toward his followers. He believes that even small favors should be granted at the right time, noting that his own strategic depth far exceeds that of Bak Quan Lam. Soon, a female disciple begins to feel lightheaded, mentioning that the spiritual wine seems much stronger than usual. Another disciple, his face flushed from the potent brew, mutters about an overwhelming and irresistible urge to sleep. Du Hiu Dao wonders aloud if Bak Quan Lam has served the rare, high-quality spiritual wine gifted by their family. She notes the distinct difference in quality, and Bak Quan Lam calmly confirms her suspicion with a composed reply. He explains that this is a precious treasure from the Bak family, containing spiritual energy far purer than any common variety. He encourages them to succumb to the drowsiness, promising that their cultivation will have advanced by a minor realm once they awaken. Trusting his promise completely, a brown-haired woman expresses her joy and thanks him for such a rare opportunity. A purple-haired girl praises his kindness, while even the strong-willed Nam Than Thien finds himself unable to fight off the exhaustion. Nam Than Thien apologizes for his weakness as he drifts off, while Lai Truong-sin watches the scene with cold, calculating eyes. After waiting for everyone to fall into a deep stupor upon the stone table, Lai Truong-sin silently draws his sword from its scabbard. With a sinister smile and a cold gaze, he whispers a final farewell, wishing them an eternal sleep. Without hesitation, he strikes down the sleeping disciple and then cautiously surveys the lifeless bodies scattered before him. Although they appear dead, his instincts warn him that approaching the corpses to search them remains a highly dangerous task. He silently analyzes that most of these men are disciples from prominent families, making it impossible to know if their storage bags contain hidden treasures or forbidden defensive arts. Lai Truong-sin carefully considers that any hasty attempt to refine or seize these items could inadvertently reveal his true identity. Suppressing his greed, he devises a new plan by poisoning the corpses and setting intricate traps throughout the room before finally closing the door in satisfaction. However, his anxiety persists because eliminating these followers was merely the beginning, and the greatest threat, Bai Guanglin, still looms. Although the man was lured down the mountain, he will certainly return, and Lai Truong-sin realizes that pursuing him further would be far too dangerous. Followers had revealed that Bai Guanglin wields immense power at the foot of the mountain, and can easily summon support from his clan at any moment. Since leaving the safety of Xuan Duguan is not an option, Lai Truong-sin stands on high ground, surveying the vast mountain landscape. He identifies the perfect ambush point along the only trail Bai Guanglin must use to return, meticulously analyzing every possible factor. As a prominent member of the Bai family with exceptional talent and a strong background, Bai Guanglin likely possesses several life-saving artifacts. Lai Truong-sin decides he must take the risk, even if the chance of success is less than 50%, to prevent any further complications. Fully aware of Bai Guanglin's status, he reminds himself of his own precarious position as a deep-cover spy for the demonic cult who could be exposed at any time. He concludes that this is the absolute best opportunity to eliminate Bai Guanglin, as such a chance may never present itself again. Determined to ensure there is no way back for his target, he reflects on how Xuan Duguan differs from the typical appearance of an immortal sect. The sect lacks guardian beasts or fortified gates, leaving the entrance wide open for disciples to leave and enemies to enter with ease. Yet, as the world's premier sect, it has never been conquered because it is protected by the Xuan Huang Gong De Tower, an ancient divine artifact. He quickly moves to a tea shop at the base of the mountain, noting that the sect's lack of restrictions allows both him and Bai Guanglin to act freely. Realizing that a more disciplined sect would never allow such easy passage, Lai Truong-sin hides atop a tall tree and waits patiently. A familiar figure soon appears in his line of sight, and as Bai Guanglin arrives, Lai Truong-sin immediately summons his weapon for battle. Bai Guanglin quickly notices the sudden approach as Lai Truong-sin launches a lightning-fast strike against him. A lethal blade stroke aims to take his head, but an astonishing sight unfolds as Bai Guanglin's defensive measures are suddenly triggered. After blocking the attack, Lai Truong-sin watches the arrogant young noble cough up blood before retreating, realizing the boy's protective armor requires golden core strength to shatter. Deciding that fleeing is the best option, he notices local experts are already sensing the violent aura and investigating the disturbance. He is surprised by how quickly the brief skirmish has drawn the attention of the powerful masters within Xuandu Guan. Lai Truong-sin pulls out a control token, confident that his partial authority over the Moon Palace will allow him to escape at any moment. Just as he prepares to return to the palace, a massive hand suddenly reaches out from a spatial vortex and seizes him. As Lai Truong-sin vanishes into thin air, the person who had been attacking Bak Quan Lam realizes the boy must have an accomplice. Pulled into a separate dimension by a mysterious figure in black, Lai Truong-sin demands to know his identity and his reasons for intervening. The man in black ignores the question and asks if he truly intends to kill Bak Quan Lam, while Lai Truong-sin glares back, realizing he has been watched. Understanding that his secret is already out, Lai Truong-sin decides there is no longer any point in hiding his murderous intent. When Lai Truong-sin frankly admits his goal, the man in black remarks that he is just as deranged as his senior sister, Lai Thuong-hai. Mysterious man recounts how Lai Thuong-hai famously murdered her own husband on the night of their wedding years ago. He mocks Lai Truong-sin for attempting to kill Bak Quan Lam before even reaching the golden core stage, marveling at the ferocity of the Yeaguang lineage. Lai Truong-sin is stunned by the revelation of the marriage, as he had always perceived Lai Thuong-hai as a pure and innocent maiden. Despite his shock, he listens as the man in black describes how Lai Thuong-hai supposedly sacrificed her husband to achieve a higher state of cultivation. Rather than being repulsed by this terrifying tale, Lai Truong-sin finds himself admiring his senior sister's ruthless dedication to the path. After praising her actions, he turns back to the man in black with gratitude and asks once more why he was saved. The man coldly explains that he didn't act out of his own will, but was fulfilling a request from someone else, leading Lai Truong-sin to guess it was his sister. The man corrects him, noting that Lai Thuong-hai was unaware of his recklessness, and reveals that the request actually came from the sect leader's wife. Lai Truong-sin quickly deduces that this refers to the wife of the heavenly demon sect leader, realizing the situation at Xuandu Guan is far more complex than he imagined. He reflects on how his constant caution has been justified, given the hidden depths and dangers of the cultivation world. Reflecting on how a single mistake could lead to an anonymous death, Li Changsheng expresses his surprise. He notes his surprise that the sect leader's wife has such a reliable confidant hidden within Xuandu Guan, prompting a cold response from the man in black. The man in black tells him not to waste effort guessing his identity or offering thanks, as long as he serves the lady faithfully in the future. Li Changsheng immediately pledges his loyalty, affirming that as a disciple of the holy sect, he will remain devoted to the lady, while noting the different names used for their organization. While outsiders call them the demon sect, they refer to themselves as the heavenly holy sect, leading him to pose a pointed question about being a spy. He suggests that the man must be panicking after accidentally killing the sect leader's illegitimate son, drawing this conclusion from the information just revealed. Li Changsheng confirms his suspicion that this man is a high-ranking figure in Xuandu Guan, realizing how deep the internal politics run and how isolated the temple master truly is. Relieved that the sect leader harbors no immediate ill will, he respectfully claims the lady will recognize his loyalty, though the man in black remains skeptical. The man in black remarks that while his loyalty is unproven, his immense audacity will surely be noticed, citing his bold move of identifying Elder Yu's illegitimate son. He then continues to express his astonishment at the situation. After killing the heir the Bai family had painstakingly nurtured, Li Changsheng's audacity seemed unmatched by anyone except the mentally unstable Li Changxi, though he claimed it was merely for survival. The man in black began analyzing the information he had gathered, noting that there had been no significant conflict between Bing Zibing and Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng had simply overheard Bing Zibing talking in his sleep and decisively exposed him to gain Li Changxi's support, which merely proved his ruthless efficiency. However, his blatant attack on Zai Guanlin seemed illogical, prompting the man in black to express his astonishment. By killing old demon Yu's illegitimate son, Li Bai had already offended the world's greatest demon, yet he now dared to kill the son of fairy Ling Long as well. Truly terrified by such audacity, the man in black remarked that Li Changsheng was perfectly suited to be a demonic cultivator due to his reckless and unrestrained nature. With a self-deprecating tone, he noted that neither Bing Zibing nor Bai Guanlin had actually posed a direct threat to Li Changsheng's life. Despite that, Li Changsheng had disregarded everything and killed them anyway, leaving the man in black to reflect on the young man's boldness. Feeling that his own spirit had faded with age, the man listened as Li Changsheng quickly insisted that his actions were not born of recklessness. Li Changsheng claimed that others were always trying to harm him, prompting the man to reveal that the madam now possessed his list of undercover agents. From then on, Li Changsheng would be under the madam's direct supervision, with the man in black serving as his sole contact and superior for all assigned tasks. No one else in the holy sect could issue him orders, a development Li Changsheng found favorable since he had already reported the matter of old Demon Yu's son. He believed that if the sect leader's wife valued her reputation, she would consider herself in his debt, judging by the behavior of the man in black. While it appeared the madam cared about her standing, Li Changsheng remained cautious, knowing better than to trust anyone from the heavenly demon sect completely. Despite her apparent goodwill, he knew he had to stay alert and find a way to gather information on her or deal with her reputedly useless son. Seeking further instructions, Li Changsheng was handed a jade slip containing the holy sect's cultivation techniques, which he was told to master immediately. The man noted that no one would believe he was a disciple of the holy sect if he failed to master even their most basic techniques. With a cold and meaningful tone, the man added that the jade slip also contained detailed instructions for refining the 100-soul banner. This evil artifact required specific materials, and the madam had ordered Li Changsheng to complete its refinement within 3 months. Upon absorbing the information within the jade slip, Li Changsheng was stunned, as the 100-soul banner was infamous throughout the cultivation world. It is an extremely cruel dark artifact used specifically to collect and refine the souls of living beings, serving as a symbol of evil. This signature equipment belongs only to notorious demonic cultists, and Li Changsheng understands that merely killing is insufficient to refine the 100-soul banner. The artifact requires the creator to seize the 3 souls and 7 spirits of a person while they are still alive, specifically targeting cultivators with significant achievement. The 100 souls mentioned in the banner's name refer to the extraordinary living souls of those who have embarked on the path of cultivation and evolution. Ordinary mortals are entirely insufficient, as refining a single 100-soul banner requires the lives of at least 10,000 accomplished cultivators to succeed. Every banner created represents a sea of endless resentment, and Li Changsheng feels a strange mix of excitement and mockery while spinning the jade slip in his hand. Such evil acts violate the strict rules of Xuandu Guan, and any disciple witnessing this would immediately brand him a demon and execute him on the spot. His excitement quickly fades into sorrow as he sighs, realizing that the madam still does not fully place her trust in him. The man in black responds coldly with a warning, noting that Li Changsheng's future at Xuandu Guan was originally very bright and promising. He explains that without some form of influence or binding connection, the madam could never truly trust or rely on him. 100-soul banner is a mandatory mission with no retreat, and as Li Changsheng listens to the warning against foolishness, he grips the jade slip with calculating eye. Realizing the sect leader's wife is seeking a way to control him completely, he decides to return to the Moon Palace illusion to test a new idea. He wonders if the souls of demonic beasts can be used to refine the banner, which would imply that Li Changxi is hiding something significant. If successful, her wild claims might be true, but regardless of the outcome, his priority is surviving this immediate and dangerous ordeal. After some analysis, a core concern arises regarding how Xuandu Guan evaluates its disciples based on their accumulated merit and virtue. When asked about the consequences of being caught by superiors, the man in black coldly dismisses it as Li Changsheng's own problem before summoning a spatial vortex. He adds that there is no need to worry about the future yet, as Li Changsheng might not even survive the current challenge after underestimating the Bai family. The man warns that the investigation into Bai Guanlin's assassination will not end easily, and the truth may soon be revealed before falling silent. He forcefully pushes Li Changsheng into the teleportation array with a final reminder to take care, quickly sending him back to the Moon Palace where he immediately begins analyzing the man's words and actions, noting that despite his intact arms and self-reference as an elder, he carried a very familiar scent. Confident in his unique talent, he muses that identifying a woman by her scent is a fundamental trait of a gentleman, certain the figure in black is the scripture-passing elder. Having never failed to recognize a woman's scent even before his cultivation began, his heightened senses now make the task effortless. With his abilities vastly improved, he reasons that both the scripture-passing elder and Li Changxi share a common, deep-seated trait. Both women possess an incurable obsession with beauty and vanity, likely unaware that they carry such a distinct and recognizable fragrance. He also notes that the scripture-passing elder is an amateur spy, as she foolishly revealed her knowledge of his role in Bing Tubing's death. Li Changsheng is startled by this revelation, as the details of that event were kept secret and known only to a select few. Realizing the scripture-passing elder of Xuandu Temple is an agent for the heavenly demon sect leader's wife, the He Huan Saintess, he sighs at Li Changxi's involvement. He reflects that while a powerful and well-connected lunatic offers a false sense of security, others may hide even more dangerous faces. He takes a deep breath and reminds himself with a hint of bitterness that he must act with extreme caution to survive in this dangerous world. Within the quiet of his temporary lodgings, Li Changsheng sits in meditation, entering an internal illusion to refine his skill. He uses this mental space to both practice his martial techniques and reflect on the complex events that have recently unfolded. His thoughts linger on the assassination of Bai Guanglin, specifically the extraordinary protective robe that caused him minor internal injury. To reach his peak condition before dawn, he focuses on a full recovery while devising ways to prevent the Bai family from uncovering his identity. After ensuring his tracks are covered, the scene shifts to General Shah, who stands before the Crown Prince of Dali with respect and visible anxiety. The general respectfully reports that he cannot explain why the immortal previously descended upon Jiangyuan County. He admits he has no knowledge of the being's current whereabouts, prompting the despairing Crown Prince to turn toward him. The prince reveals that the elite grandmasters he painstakingly gathered in the capital were tragically slaughtered at Lanka Temple. In this dire situation, the immortal is their last hope, and the general shares the desire for the being to quell the beast tide. Admitting he has no clues, the general grows restless and wonders if there is any way to summon the immortal to their aid. The Crown Prince clenches his fists in frustration and helplessness, lamenting that mortals cannot resolve this crisis alone. He would not place all his hopes on an immortal within the Qihong and Gaiern illusion, as the D-stroke letter 1EA1I Lai dynasty's current state was dire. From the emperor to the civil and military officials, everyone had surrendered to despair, waiting for monsters to breach the palace. Despite their initial struggles, the relentless and mindless beast tide had crushed their spirits, leaving them to await their inevitable end. Only the young crown prince of D-stroke letter 1EA1I Lai maintained a resilient will, refusing to surrender and yearning to continue the fight. Those who still possessed the resolve to resist gathered around the prince, yet their efforts failed to improve the worsening situation. Strange rumors regarding Lai TR letter 1B0, letter 1EDD, NG Sin began to spread in Qihong and Gaiern, claiming a descended immortal had saved the district from ruin. Regrettably, the immortal had vanished as quickly as he arrived, and the method to summon him back remained a complete mystery. General Sa reported that his scouts found no pattern to the arrival, noting the immortal appeared just as he had reached total despair. The general confessed his ignorance regarding the summoning method, prompting the prince to urge him to recall every detail. The prince asked about the events preceding the arrival, noting that most of the dynasty's remaining masters had fallen at L letter 1EA1NG Ka Temple. He warned that within 6 months, D-stroke letter 1EA1I Lai would likely follow the step's fate and become a lawless haven for monsters. The crown prince desperately emphasized that this mysterious immortal represented their final hope for survival amidst the chaos. General Sa suddenly remembered that on that day, his daughter had stubbornly refused to flee to safety. She had questioned why no divine being had come to their aid and offered a sincere prayer for an immortal to save them. Realizing the immortal appeared following her plea, the general wondered if she was the key, sparking great joy in the prince. The prince urgently asked for the daughter's whereabouts, and the general immediately led him toward her quarters. Upon entering Sajang Tuy letter 1EBFT's room, the prince's gaze was immediately drawn to a formal portrait of the legendary immortal on the wall. General Sa explained that his daughter had become a devoted follower, commissioning the painting to offer daily prayers and incense. Hoping for a miracle, the prince approached Sajang Tuy letter 1EBFT and requested that she attempt to summon the immortal once more. He stated that bringing the immortal back would make her a savior of the realm, but she responded with a sorrowful expression. The Crown Prince of Great Lai anxiously urges Lady Sa to pray again, hoping she can re-establish a connection with the immortal. General Sa, the father of Sa Jiang Tayat, agrees with the prince and reminds his daughter of the immortal's previous manifestation. He encourages her to recall how the immortal appeared immediately after her sincere prayer and suggests she try once more. Seeing the pleading eyes of both men, Sa Jiang Tayat sighs and reluctantly agrees to attempt another prayer. She warns them not to harbor excessive hope to avoid disappointment, but agrees to try since they are so determined. Standing solemnly before a massive portrait of Li Changsheng, she prays that if demons exist, a savior must also descend. She prays for a savior to descend and offers to pay any price if the immortal will only appear to help. As her prayer for the people ends, a sudden and excited commotion erupts outside the palace wall. Shouts of joy fill the air as the people proclaim the immortal's return, causing the crown prince's face to brighten with hope. The prince joyfully tells Lady Sa that she clearly has a connection to the immortal and begins to calculate his next move. He resolves to treat Sa Jiang Tayat with the utmost respect, while wondering if the immortal responded so quickly due to a preference for women. Seeing this as a potential opportunity, they rush outside and witness Li Changsheng appearing in the sky. Sa Jiang Tayat falls to her knees in emotion while Li Changsheng, still unaware of the people below, remains focused on his own thoughts. He is busy planning his actions within the illusion, hoping to refine the 100-soul banner while also accumulating merit. As he explores the nature of the realm, he suddenly detects a thick scent of blood and demonic energy rising from the northwest. Despite the vast distance, the terrifying aura is palpable, reminding him of the apocalypse Li Changxi had mentioned. He concludes that the source of the aura is the epicenter of the realm's destruction, and notes that its power exceeds his own. Realizing the threat is more troublesome than expected, he is suddenly startled by the voices of the people below hailing him. The citizens of Great Lai bow in unison and plead for the immortal to save them, their faces filled with tears of gratitude. As he descends on a cloud, he observes that the crowd consists of ordinary mortals, none of whom have practiced qi refinement. Li Changsheng is confident they cannot see through his late-stage foundation establishment cultivation, as the rainbow mist is merely an illusion created by his phantom light array. Maintaining a calm demeanor, Li Changsheng tells everyone to rise before turning his gaze toward the Crown Prince of Great Light to ask if he is the leader of this place. The Crown Prince respectfully identifies himself as the heir of Great Light, prompting Li Changsheng to wave his hand and command the man to stand while they speak. Li Changsheng asks for an explanation of the world's current state, claiming that while patrolling the heavens, he noticed a beast calamity in this small realm and sent an avatar to investigate. Upon hearing this, the Crown Prince of Great Lei quickly concludes that the immortal must be a supreme being of immense power from the upper realm. The Crown Prince then curiously asks which great sect the immortal hails from, or if he is perhaps an Arhat or Bodhisattva from the Western sect. Surprised by the question, Li Changsheng frowns and asks for clarification, leading the Crown Prince to explain that according to the legends of Lan Ka Temple, the world is a dependency of the 3,000 Buddha kingdoms, which is why he initially assumed the immortal was a descending figure from the Western sect. Realizing his error, the Crown Prince immediately begs for forgiveness and addresses Li Changsheng by his full divine title as the Great Emperor of Longevity. He cites legends stating the Emperor is one of the 6 sovereigns of the 9 heavens who manifests as the heavenly Lord of divine retribution to command the Thunder Department. Li Changsheng focuses on the mention of Lan Ka Temple to the north, noting that it appears to be the primary gathering point for the demonic beasts. He observes that the area is shrouded in thick demonic energy and looks nothing like a holy land, a sentiment the Crown Prince sadly confirms. Praising the Emperor's divine insight, the Crown Prince explains that the calamity began at Lan Ka Temple with a monk named Wu Zin, who was believed to be a reincarnated Arhat. Over a year ago, Wu Xin failed his ascension to the Buddha kingdom and became corrupted, spreading demonic energy that drove the world's beasts into a frenzy. As the people suffered, the crown prince gathered all the world's grandmasters for a desperate mission to Lan Ka Temple to eliminate the source of the evil. However, the entire group of grandmasters was annihilated, leaving the crown prince to fear that Great Li would have perished if the emperor had not intervened. Falling to his knees, he desperately implores the emperor to slay the demons, promising that the people of Great Li will offer their eternal gratitude and worship. He pledges to fulfill any request the emperor might have, prompting an excited Li Changsheng to draw his weapon and agree to visit Lan Ka Temple personally. Later, under the soft glow of a lantern, Li Changsheng sits in a study carefully reviewing ancient records and every detail regarding Lan Ka Temple. Once he finishes reading, he realizes that Li Changxi's claims were accurate and that the timeline of events is indeed unfolding as expected. After the investiture of the gods concluded, Li Changsheng gained a clearer and deeper understanding of this world the more he immersed himself in its records. He observed that the Western sect was in a period of great prosperity under the rule of the 3,000 Buddha kingdoms, with countless small worlds becoming their dependency. These worlds constantly offered up faith and talented individuals to the Buddha kingdom, and the small world where Li Changsheng currently resided was no exception. It was merely one of an infinite number of such minor worlds, and he meticulously read every line of information without missing the slightest detail. Lan Ka Temple was described as the most powerful force in this world, far surpassing the Dali dynasty, which revered the temple as its state religion and absolute authority. After analyzing the records regarding the combat power of a great grandmaster in this world, Li Changsheng reached a definitive conclusion. He determined that this peak level was equivalent to the late foundation establishment stage, with cultivation methods here focusing primarily on body tempering and martial arts. The absolute limit of power in this world likely stopped at the late foundation establishment stage, meaning any cultivator seeking further breakthroughs would have to leave. Because this world could not sustain a Golden Core realm expert, Li Changsheng felt much more at ease with his current situation. From this perspective, Lan Ka Temple no longer posed a significant threat to him, especially since the Dali crown prince had mentioned that the strongest monk, Wu Xin, had passed away. With most other masters already eliminated, the strongest remaining forces in this world likely had not even reached the foundation establishment stage. As he returned the documents to the shelf, he calculated his next moves, noting that while beast leaders might be strong, mindless mutated animals were not difficult opponents. While his personal safety was no longer a major concern, Li Changsheng became increasingly excited by the incredible realism of this world. He marveled at how it did not feel like an illusion at all, leading him to suspect that Li Changxi was hiding a very significant secret. Upon his return, the Dali crown prince was overjoyed to see him, prompting Li Changsheng to confidently announce his immediate departure. He instructed the group to remain behind and wait for good news, while he handled the situation alone. Although the crown prince respectfully offered a dragon carriage and requested to accompany and serve him, Li Changsheng had no intention of waiting. Before anyone could react, he utilized his light body technique to soar into the sky, declaring that he had no time for such formalities. Li Changsheng harbored his own secret plan to use this opportunity to exterminate the beasts and attempt to refine the 100-soul banner. Outside Lan Ka Temple, amidst a raging storm of thunder and lightning, Li Changsheng looked upon his handiwork with great satisfaction. Li Changsheng quickly slaughters the beasts outside Lan Ka Temple, realizing they are perfect for refining his 100-soul banner. His intuition proves correct, but he must still determine if these items can be brought into the real world to confirm the link between illusion and reality. Suddenly alert, Li Changsheng senses a dark, ominous presence within Lan Ka Temple, which appears completely devoid of light. Violent demonic energy continues to spread from within, confirming that this is indeed the source of the world's apocalypse. With unwavering determination, he climbs the temple stairs, knowing there is no turning back now. Li Changsheng's face pales in shock as he discovers a horrific scene of countless corpses scattered across the ground. He stares at the object before him and identifies it as an evil Buddha Sarira, recalling the ancient legends surrounding such relics. While the remains of virtuous monks usually form bright, colorful beads through their merit, this Sarira is far different. Instead of a holy glow, this bead emits a terrifying black demonic energy that carries a palpable sense of destruction. Though the aura makes most people want to flee in terror, Li Changsheng reaches out to take the relic. As a disciple of the heavenly demon sect, he finds the energy nourishing, yet he wonders if this truly belonged to the legendary divine monk Wu Xin. Fragments of the past flicker through his mind, recalling Wu Xin's tragic birth to a demon sect leader and a renowned martial arts beauty. Despite his parents' status, family happiness was a concept that Wu Xin would never truly know. On the very day of his birth, a horrific tragedy struck when his mother secretly poisoned his father during a moment of vulnerability. That betrayal triggered a massive purge, as the Righteous Alliance completely dismantled the once mighty demon sect. Surprisingly, Wu Xin's mother managed to save him by sending him to Lang Ka Temple, where he studied the Buddhist path for 18 years. After years of intense cultivation, Wu Xin shocked the martial world by defeating 18 of his peers to become the youngest monk allowed to leave the temple. He traveled the land as a wandering monk, saving the innocent and punishing evil until he was revered by all as a divine monk. However, fate proved cruel once again when the truth of his lineage was finally revealed to the world. The once venerated divine monk was dragged down by his demonic heritage, transforming into a great demon that everyone sought to destroy. Vo Tam had once been lost and immersed in utter helplessness with no one to help him, but in that moment of despair, he achieved enlightenment and abandoned his blade to become a world-renowned grandmaster. Vo Tam remained steadfast until his life force was exhausted, but after passing into the Buddha kingdom, he witnessed a terrifying scene of Buddhas coughing blood and the kingdom collapsing under rampant demonic energy. In his final moments, Vo Tam cried out his last words, accusing the saint leader Tathagata of being a traitor. These events were recorded in history as a warning from a senior arhat who had sacrificed his life to disrupt the traitor's ascension process. That was the final sight Vo Tam witnessed before collapsing, after which he was returned to Lank Temple, where the original demonic energy had already shrouded the ancient grounds. Unfortunately, he never had the chance to fulfill the senior's request as the ascension failed. His soul vanished, and he was further corrupted by the demonic energy. This tragedy affected the entire world while Lai Truong Sin watched the evil Buddha Sarira, which had manifested after Vo Tam's death to record his experiences, remain enveloped in dark energy. Sarira had inadvertently become the source of the current apocalyptic era, leading Lai Truong Sin to wonder if this was a true reflection of the Fengshan world rather than a mere illusion. He questioned if what Vo Tam saw was actually a civil war within the Western sect, and found it hard to believe that Tathagata could be a traitor. He reasoned that Tathagata was the Buddha of Buddhism, whereas the Western sect was led by the two supreme saints, Ji Yin and Zhenti. Lai Truong Sin began to wonder if Lai Thuong Hai was not actually insane, and if everything she had said was the truth. However, he did not dwell on it for long, as he felt he was still far too weak for such monumental matters to concern him. His most urgent task was to accumulate merit and quickly raise his cultivation level, so he departed from Lank Temple as the first light of dawn rose over the mountains. A moment later, he was astonished to find that he still held the moon bow, the 100-soul banner, and the evil Buddha Sarira in his hand. Lai Truong Sin realized that while at least a day had passed within the illusion, only a single second had elapsed in the real world. Most importantly, the merit he gained was real, and he saw great potential in using the demonic energy from the evil Buddha Sarira to power the 100-soul banner. Furthermore, the Sarira could assist him in practicing the demonic desire sutra given to him by the sect leader's wife, and as he activated the technique, the dark energy around the artifact began to weaken. The demonic desire sutra began to circulate automatically through his body, though he couldn't help but mutter about the unusual nature of the technique's name. Lai Truong Sin then recalled receiving a jade slip containing the demonic desire sutra from the scripture elder, who had delivered it on behalf of the sect leader's wife. That jade slip contained not only the demonic desire sutra, but also various other demonic arts and methods for refining sinister magical treasures. It was clear the sect leader's wife wanted him to master these arts to sever his ties with the heavenly demon sect so she could lead him, but he found the items acceptable upon analysis. He believed both the cultivation methods and magical artifacts were harmless, as any demonic art could serve the people if practiced with a virtuous heart. Although the demonic desire sutra sounded questionable, its actual effect was merely to awaken the hidden desires and demonic thoughts within others. Despite his caution, Li Changsheng did not dare defy the sect leader's wife and closed his eyes to focus on the dense demonic energy surrounding him. He noted that the evil Buddha Sarira left by Wuxin contained massive demonic energy, allowing his demonic desire sutra to reach the minor achievement stage instantly. As he examined the jade slip, he felt that a technique designed to stimulate the desires and demonic thoughts of others was ultimately quite dull. To a man like himself, filled with righteous energy and a pure soul dedicated to morality and the common people, such an evil art seemed entirely useless. Convinced it would have no effect on him, he gripped the jade slip tightly while a silent plan began to take shape in his mind. He decided to find a suitable opportunity to test the technique on Li Changxi before sitting down to inspect his own cultivation state. A satisfied smile appeared on his face as he realized his blood energy had become almost uncontrollable. His blood river had evolved into a blood sea, confirming that he had indeed taken the lives of millions of living beings. Even mindless spirit beasts were counted as lives, and he noticed the merit energy within his body was also starting to become difficult to manage. He estimated his current merit was enough to reach the golden core stage, even if it were the weakest in history, just as Li Changxi called out to him from outside. Li Changsheng quickly opened the door to welcome his senior sister, who immediately bypassed any pleasantries to address the main issue. She acknowledged his past as the Dala Heavenly Emperor, but questioned why his killing intent was so strong that he dared to massacre so many at Xuandu Temple. Li Changsheng had expected that he could not hide the killings from her, as the premier immortal sect would certainly track the lives of its disciples. He explained that those people had forced him into a corner, leaving him no choice but to retaliate, and then he attempted to calm her down. He told his senior sister that she was different from him, as she was a Dala quasi-saint who had attained the Tao during the ancient primordial era. He reasoned that during the primordial era, spiritual energy and resources were abundant while the population was small, making it easier to reach the Dala realm. He argued that by the time he sought enlightenment, the world was ruled by distant saints, and the population had exploded into a cycle of kill or be killed. Li Changxi nodded in agreement, convinced that they were left with no choice but to launch a counterattack. She acknowledged his logic, noting that great immortals like him would be more ruthless than anyone in the investiture of the gods, where Hayashin had already seized one of the 6 golden positions blessed by the Tao ancestor and the saints. Millions of cultivators, including disciples of the saints and great immortals, subordinates of the human emperor and elders of the Wu Yan, were all vying for the 5 remaining great immortal positions. Li Changxi reflects on her past, noting that her junior brother's bloodlust is even greater than her own from when she first attained the Tao. She acknowledges that they are currently trapped in an illusion and worries that his ruthless nature might make it impossible for her to protect him. Li Changsheng considers her words, wishing that the others at Xuandu Temple were as sincere and straightforward as she is. He quickly moves past those thoughts to explain that his actions were driven by a potential crisis within the great wilderness immortal realm. He stresses the need to break through the illusion and return home immediately, warning that any delay could lead to a catastrophic outcome. Surprised by his urgency, Li Changxi asks for details, leading Li Changsheng to explain his discovery of a world tied to the Western sect. He describes finding a minor world belonging to the 3,000 Buddha kingdoms and recounts the disturbing events he witnessed there. After stopping the demonic forces that had pushed that world's civilization to the brink of collapse, he uncovered several shocking secrets. He explains that the demonic infestation was actually a symptom of severe internal conflict within the Buddha kingdom itself. He reveals the final message of a dying arhat meant for the saintly sect leader, which identified the Tathagata Buddha as a traitor. Li Changxi remains remarkably calm, stating that such a betrayal is not surprising, which leaves Li Changsheng completely stunned. He questions her reaction, reminding her that the Tathagata Buddha is the highest-ranking figure in the Western sect. He emphasizes that since the Tathagata holds absolute authority under the 2 saints, his betrayal should be a monumental event. Li Changxi coolly explains that because the Tathagata is second only to the saints, it is only natural for him to want to surpass them. She analyzes the situation, noting that no one would want to remain under the shadow of the saints forever, deeply impressing Li Changsheng. She argues that a saint is merely a more powerful great golden immortal, and any quasi-saint who lacks the ambition to reach that level is worthless. She describes the rigid hierarchy of the great wilderness, where the Tao ancestor reigns supreme above the immortal saints and the quasi-saints. This established order is incredibly difficult to climb, as the Tao ancestor has already assigned every being to a specific rank and position. She explains that a quasi-saint can only become a saint if a seat is vacated, just as a saint can only advance if the Tao ancestor's position opens. Hearing this, Li Changsheng is filled with admiration for her perspective, regardless of the true state of her mental health. Her words carry an undeniable truth for him, leading him to question whether Li Changxi is truly as mentally unstable as he had previously assumed. Li Changsheng pretends to understand everything, noting that Tathagata intends to take a step further by replacing the two saints of the Western sect. He observes that two vacant saint positions would benefit them and asks if she intends to help Tathagata, prompting a satisfied and radiant smile from Li Changxi. She considers him a kindred spirit as fellow great golden immortal, explaining that if quasi-saints like them wish to ascend to true sainthood, then existing saints must first be sacrificed, meaning anyone with the ambition to reach that rank is naturally their ally. Overcome by curiosity, Li Changsheng asks how they will provide assistance, and she quickly outlines her carefully calculated strategy. She explains that breaking this illusion will expose Saint Junti's weaknesses, adding that Tathagata's plot for the throne must be backed by other saints. Li Changxi trembles with joy and agrees that the great desolate immortal realm is on the verge of descending into total chaos. She predicts an earth-shattering holy war where the fall of existing saints would allow them to advance, excitedly noting her control over the lunar star. Since he is one of the 6 emperors of the heavenly court, she believes their timely return would create an incredibly powerful alliance. She envisions them as the key force that will tip the scales of the great desolate realm during the chaos and emerge as the ultimate victors. She vows to protect him and ensure his survival, but they are suddenly startled by a voice demanding Li Changsheng follow them as his secret is out. He recognizes the voice as the law enforcement elder from the Hall of Discipline, yet he remains confident that his companions have no cause for concern. Showing no fear, Li Changxi calmly reassures Li Changsheng and tells him not to panic since everything around them is merely an illusion. She suggests killing those who are no longer useful and promises to handle everything, while Li Changsheng claims he can see through the entire situation. He asks why he would be afraid, leading a delighted Li Changxi to recall how he fought alone with a blade during the first investiture of God's war. She describes how he fought from the southern heavenly gate to the Lingxiao Palace, leaving the court in blood and making this current situation seem trivial. Noticing something unusual, Li Changsheng looks away and reflects that he was not actually feeling any fear at all. However, hearing her describe the immense power of the great Antarctic Emperor of Longevity makes him feel genuinely uneasy as he joins his hands. He offers a sincere prayer to the Emperor of Longevity, identifying himself as Li Changsheng and insisting he never intended to impersonate the deity. Lai Thuonghai expressed her deep admiration for him, while Lai Truongsin spotted the law enforcement elder and began calculating his next move. Law enforcement elder of the Discipline Hall was an ally who had previously helped him frame Bak Quan Lam. He approached with a polite bow and a smile, complimenting the elder on looking even more handsome and distinguished than before. He remarked that the elder looked even more impressive than earlier that day, but the elder, already annoyed, grew even more frustrated by the flattery. Pointing a finger at Lai Truongsin, the elder sternly ordered him to stop the flowery talk and explain his recent action. Lai Truongsin maintained a look of pure innocence, claiming total ignorance of the situation and leaving the elder feeling conflicted and frustrated. Although the elder admired Lai Truongsin's unwavering focus as a rare talent, his feigned innocence was driving the man to the brink of madness. Lai Thuonghai attempted to follow them but was stopped by the elder, who reminded her of the temple master's order for her confinement. Her rambling confused the elder before they reached the Peak Master's Hall, where the high-ranking officials had gathered to confront Lai Truongsin. When the Bak family demanded a confession, Lai Truongsin claimed he was cultivating all night, a statement Lai Thuonghai immediately offered to witness. A Bak family elder shouted that Lai Truongsin was being stubborn, revealing that all the disciples who had harassed him, including Bak Quan Lam, were dead. Lai Truongsin acted completely shocked, questioning how such a horrific tragedy could occur within the walls of the Hyendu temple. The accusers pressed him further, pointing out that it was highly suspicious since every victim was someone who had a personal grudge against him. Despite the pressure, Lai Truongsin remained composed, knowing exactly how to play his part in the elaborate drama he had orchestrated. He appealed to the temple master's judgment, suggesting that the entire situation was a despicable plot to frame him, possibly masterminded by Bak Quan Lam. Speaking with a firm yet respectful tone, he understood that any sign of weakness or a confession in this moment would lead to his downfall. He recalled the logic that confession leads to life in prison, while a firm denial allows one to return home and eventually flip the situation. His plan was to turn the tables, claim a reward for his merits, and ensure that his version of justice would prevail. With a clear strategy in mind and a look of profound sincerity, Lai Truong-sin continued to address the assembly. The voice that mixed deep respect with a slight tremor, he assured the temple master that he was hiding nothing. Li Changsheng explains that coming from a humble background and being alone, he has lived cautiously since entering the prestigious Xuandu temple, never daring to provoke anyone. He asserts that a crime as heinous as murder is something he would never even dream of, before his expression suddenly shifts. With tearful eyes reflecting deep grievance, he suppresses his frustration and informs the assembly that he has an important matter to report. He recounts how Bai Guanlin led a group to bully him in broad daylight, an incident witnessed by the law enforcement elder of the discipline hall. He credits the elder's impartiality for saving his reputation, and suggests that Bai Guanlin, fueled by resentment over his failure, staged this clumsy scene to frame him. Li Changsheng speculates that Bai Guanlin staged this clumsy scene to frame him out of resentment. While nearby, Li Changxi cannot help but sigh in sympathy. With reddened eyes, she looks at Li Changsheng with pity, lamenting that the Bai family is truly wicked and her junior brother is incredibly unfortunate. Faced with Li Changsheng's pointed arguments and emotional display, the temple master and the law enforcement elder find themselves unable to respond. The members of the Bai family are also left speechless, unable to find any words to refute his claim. While the crowd is accustomed to Li Changxi's eccentricities, they are shocked that a low-born new disciple like Li Changsheng can speak so sharply. Seizing the initiative, Li Changsheng looks up and boldly asks the temple master a question with an air of confidence. After a subtle cough, the temple master confirms that Bai Guanlin is indeed still alive, causing Li Changsheng's expression to turn to intense irritation. He points out that while he had a direct conflict with Bai Guanlin, only the innocent subordinates were killed while Bai himself remained unharmed. He questions why anyone would believe he was the killer, as he would have no reason to target nameless followers instead of his actual rival. He declares that the mastermind behind this poorly constructed farce has insulted both his dignity and the intelligence of everyone in attendance. Rubbing his temples in disappointment, Li Changsheng wonders how such a crime could be committed within the world's greatest immortal sect without leaving a trace. He expresses disbelief that someone would dare to silence witnesses so brazenly within the grounds of the Xuandu temple. He mentions that his senior sister had already scolded him and warned him never to cross the powerful Bai family. He reasons that since even the temple master respects the Bai family, a person of his lowly status would never dream of provoking them. He concludes by saying he was prepared to endure the humiliation, and asks if the Bai family is truly unable to show him even a shred of mercy. Li Changxi stands nearby, her tone cold and blunt as she dismisses her junior brother's naive perspective and tells him he is mistaken. She explains that the Bai family will not spare him simply for admitting his weakness, as their desire to kill him is not due to any fault of his. Instead, it is because he obstructed Bai Guanglin's path, two unrelated matters that cause Li Changsheng to tremble with fury. His fists clench until his knuckles turn white as he roars in a voice choked with resentment, asking if the honest and weak must simply endure such bullying. He questions if a disciple should proactively seek death just to clear a path for Bai Guanglin because of his prestigious family background. His extreme indignation erupts into a shout echoing through the hall as he asks why he cannot even have the simple piece of cultivation. Li Changsheng's voice, filled with profound grievance, rings through the corridors of Xuandu Abbey as he challenges the blatant framing that everyone ignores. He finds it ironic and ridiculous that they organized a formal trial to convict him, questioning if Xuandu Abbey still possesses any laws or justice. He asks if those from powerful families can freely frame and slander others without any fear of consequences or restraint. Declaring his absolute refusal to accept the situation, Li Changsheng's growing intensity causes the temple master to frown and issue a warning. The temple master warns Li Changsheng that while he has the right to defend himself, he must not exaggerate the issue and should maintain decorum. Without hesitation, Li Changsheng continues his defense with a mix of helplessness and anger, pleading for the temple master to see the truth. He explains that he is merely a poor child from a common background who has never even met Bai Guanglin's followers. He questions how he could possess the strength to kill them without leaving a trace, then asks the temple master where and how they died. In response to the sharp question, the temple master recounts the details of the incident, each word striking the listeners like a hammer. They died in Bai Guanglin's cave dwelling, and the cause of death was determined to be drinking Bai Guanglin's spiritual wine, which contained a deadly poison. Hearing this, Li Changsheng's frustration erupts like a volcano, as he angrily points out that they died in Bai Guanglin's home from his own wine. He expresses his outrage that the blame for the murders is being placed on him, questioning the fairness of Xuandu Abbey and refusing to submit. Li Changxi speaks up again to remind her junior brother to let it go, suggesting that being bullied by the Bai family is almost an honor for commoners. She tells him to endure it and wonders why he refuses to yield, but Li Changsheng can no longer contain his emotion. Sobbing bitterly with a voice full of resentment, the disciple laments his lost faith that Xuandu Temple would be a place of justice. He had hoped for righteousness, but as Li Changsheng sinks into despair, a majestic cough sounds from behind him. The law enforcement elder breaks his silence with cold words that freeze Li Changsheng's heart and end all his resistance. The elder reveals that Yangxia Peak possesses a replica of the demon-revealing mirror, which recorded him transforming into Bai Guanlin. Stunned as if by a bolt of lightning, Li Changsheng is shocked to find that this cultivation world uses something akin to surveillance camera. Looking at the faces around him, he finds the existence of such magical surveillance absurd, feeling like a common criminal caught on tape. He finally understands the meaningful looks from the temple masters, realizing they have likely already viewed the recorded evidence. Li Changsheng recalls his previous life in the modern world, where surveillance footage was always the primary evidence in any incident. The realization that Xuandu Temple possesses such recordings is chilling, proving that these people operate outside of conventional rule. After a brief moment of reflection, he clears his throat and regains his composure to boldly challenge the accusation. He argues that a mirror meant for demons is irrelevant to him and dismisses it as a fake, surprising the elder with his stubbornness. While members of the Bai family laugh at his persistence, Li Changsheng continues to mock them despite the dire situation. When insulted as an ignorant peasant, he silently analyzes the speaker and vows to remember this slight for the future. He realizes the man's high cultivation means he won't die easily, so he plans to become a demonic cultivator once he leaves. Li Changsheng decides that killing the man would be just, but first, he coldly demands to know the stranger's name. The man introduces himself as Chuangba Khan, prompting Li Changsheng to mock him for not even carrying the Bai family name. After learning the man married into the Bai family, Li Changsheng insults him as a mere lapdog, leaving Chuangba Khan fuming with rage. Struggling to stay calm, Chuangba Khan offers to reveal a secret known only to the powerful elites of the world. He explains that all sentient beings were once classified as demons until the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors led humanity to independence. He asserts that the demon-revealing mirror can still expose one's true origins and that its power is impossible to fabricate. Li Changxi glances at Jiang Baking and notes that only an ignorant fool like him would be unaware of such an obvious truth. She questions why the mirror of truth is considered infallible and reminds a startled Jiang Baking of the time it recorded a mistake regarding her, leading him to warn her to speak carefully. Li Changxi observes his reaction and sharply points out his apparent fear, while Jiang Baking remains silent. Jiang Baking realizes his fear is justified because Li Changxi is touching upon a profound secret of Xuandu Guan that must never be disclosed. The victim years ago was Fairy Linglong's own son, yet Li Changxi emerged unscathed, suggesting the matter involves deep and far-reaching implications. While others avoid the topic, Li Changxi calmly recounts how her husband died suddenly on their wedding night. The mirror of truth had identified her as the murderer, prompting Li Changsheng to rub his forehead in exasperation at her seemingly recurring mental instability. She explains that her mother eventually confirmed the mirror had made a mistake and that she was not responsible for the death. She reasons that if the mirror failed once, it could fail again, and asks if they dare to doubt her mother's judgment. Li Changsheng silently praises his senior sister, realizing she is even more skilled at distorting the truth than he is. He is impressed by how Fairy Linglong shielded her daughter and cleared her name, feeling grateful to have such a powerful figure as his protector. Jiang Baking attempts to counter her, insisting that everyone knows the reality of what happened back then. He claims the sect master only protected her because the victim had been insolent toward Fairy Linglong. But Li Changxi interrupts to ask if he is accusing her mother of favoritism. When she offers to have her mother explain in person, Jiang Baking shouts that he refuses to debate the past. He maintains that the mirror clearly showed Li Changsheng disguised as Bai Guanlin, but Li Changxi remains composed and demands to see the evidence. The sect master claps his hands, and the mirror of truth is immediately brought forward for inspection. As the mirror displays Li Changsheng in his disguise, he looks toward Li Changxi, hoping his powerful ally will intervene. Li Changxi does not disappoint him and firmly asserts that the image shown in the mirror is a fabrication. When Jiang Baking asks what she actually believes, she calmly tells him to take another look at the mirror of truth. Jiang Baking, the members of the Bai family, and even the sect master are struck with absolute shock at the sight now appearing on the mirror. The demon-reflecting mirror has cast its light, yet the image has shifted to reveal the true, clear features of Bai Guanglin. The sect master is stunned to see that Li Changxi's illusionary arts have advanced to the point of transmuting reality into falsehood. He finds the situation beyond comprehension, sensing a familiar power as if the manifestation of will has occurred before his eye. He wonders if her cultivation has reached an impossible level, where her illusions can actually interfere with and distort reality. Recalling rumors within their circles, he fears that if Li Changxi becomes invincible, she might turn the entire world into a mere illusion. He dreads a future where everyone else is considered mad while she remains the only sane one, even as Li Changsheng remains calm. Beneath his composed exterior, Li Changsheng holds deep confidence, believing Jiao Guang to be the greatest illusionist in the world. He fully acknowledges her power and trusts in the strength of her conviction, finding himself unable to deny her incredible talent. Although she cannot yet command the elements through pure will, her ability to begin transmuting reality into falsehood shows her infinite potential. As her illusions begin to affect reality, Li Changxi gives Li Changsheng a subtle signal, which he immediately understands. He speaks up with feigned indignation, dismissing the idea of turning reality into falsehood as absolute nonsense. He argues that illusions can never truly become reality, and reminds everyone of his senior sister's reputation within the Xuandu sect. He questions how the weakest of the 8 peak masters could possibly deceive the wise sect master with such a display. He accuses them of being shameless for trying to twist the truth, while Li Changxi is pleased by his perfectly timed response. She reflects on how her resourceful junior brother, the great emperor of longevity, understood her intent in an instant and follows his lead. With a sarcastic tone, she remarks that if she could truly deceive the mirror, she would have to be the reincarnation of the lunar deity. As she asks if they truly believe such a thing, the audience begins to whisper, wondering if the entire accusation was a frame-up. The disciples note that while the authentic mirror is held by true Lord Qingyuan Maya Adao in the primordial realm, this one is different. They realize the mirror on Yangxia Peak is merely a replica that senior sister Linglong seized from the demon race. The idea that the Bai family tampered with the device seems far more plausible than Li Changxi being a divine reincarnation. Li Changsheng's initial defense seemed ignored, despite the absurdity of him being blamed for deaths occurring in Bai Guanlin's room after the victims drank Bai's wine. The sect master was pleased to see the situation shifting in their favor and spoke with profound gravity about the unfolding events. He noted that nothing escapes the demon-reflecting mirror, yet Li Changsheng skillfully demonstrated that even a replica of the mirror could be falsified. Those who already suspected the Bai family of orchestrating the incident gained the upper hand, as a clear justification for protecting Li Changsheng emerged. The sect master cleared his throat, prompting the middle peak master to suggest that the case was full of inconsistencies and required a deeper look. She argued against a hasty conviction to prevent a miscarriage of justice, prompting Li Changsheng to express his gratitude for her fair assessment. Aligning with the growing sentiment, the sect master spoke with authority, agreeing that the middle peak master's points were valid. He called for a thorough investigation and questioned why Guanlin was allegedly seen off the mountain despite being under disciplinary confinement. The law enforcement elder stepped forward to confirm that Bai Guanlin had indeed been ordered to remain in his room for 3 days of self-reflection. The sect master fixed a sharp gaze on Jiang Baking and demanded to know if Bai Guanlin had truly defied his punishment by leaving the mountain. A sweating Jiang Baking hesitated before weakly attempting to claim that the entire situation was merely a misunderstanding. refusing to let the matter be brushed aside. The sect master firmly insisted on a transparent explanation for the discrepancy. He demanded to know why Bai Guanlin was not in his room reflecting on his mistakes as ordered by the sect's disciplinary rule. He questioned whether Bai Guanlin had actually left the mountain, or if he had staged the entire scene himself to cast blame on Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng followed up with his own mocking questions, highlighting the series of improbable events used to frame him. He ridiculed the narrative where he supposedly transformed into Bai Guanlin, just as Bai's followers conveniently died in their master's own quarters. He pointed out the absurdity of being accused of an assassination within the Xuandu sect without being apprehended immediately at the scene. Li Changsheng sarcastically remarked on the immense effort Jiang Beiqing and his associates must have exerted to concoct such blatant falsehoods. Jiang Beiqing turned pale, realizing that admitting Bai Guanlin left the mountain would prove he had committed a serious violation of sect rules. Caught in a difficult position, Jiang Beiqing struggled to choose between admitting the rule violation or letting the incident be seen as Bai Guanlin's own fabrication. Whether he admits it or not, Bak Quan Lam is destined to suffer, but he is forced to choose the lesser of two evils since framing another is far more serious than a simple rule violation. After a moment of hesitation, he reluctantly reports that Bak Quan Lam did indeed descend the mountain against orders. Upon hearing this confirmation, the sect master firmly asserts that regardless of whether Lai Truong Sin is a killer, Bak Quan Lam knowingly broke the sect's law. He argues that the penalty should be increased because Bak Quan Lam used his noble status as an excuse to disregard the rules entirely. The sect master insists on a severe punishment to set an example, prompting Chuang Ba Kan to immediately object and attempt to shift the focus toward Lai Thuong Hai. He points out that she was also supposed to be under house arrest, yet moved about freely, arguing that the law enforcement elder must punish both to maintain fairness. Lai Thuong Hai remains completely unfazed by the accusation and confidently steps forward to suggest her own punishment. She admits her fault and asks the sect master to deduct a massive amount of her merit points, proposing the same for Bak Quan Lam, which leaves Chuang Ba Kan fuming. He curses her silently, wondering where she obtained so much merit since the Bak family does not specialize in accumulating. Chuang Ba Kan calculates that the merit his family worked so hard to earn cannot be entirely surrendered to Xuandu Temple for such a small issue. Since Bak Quan Lam will not face death for this minor infraction, he ultimately decides to accept Lai Thuong Hai's proposal. As the law enforcement elder continues to demand why Bak Quan Lam left the mountain, Chuang Ba Kan explains that the boy was lured into a trap by a mysterious note. He claims the message led to a misunderstanding that allowed Lai Truong Sin to commit murder, but the sect master calmly produces a folded paper and asks if it is the one. Lai Truong Sin is overjoyed to see his own handwriting in the sect master's possession, realizing that his plan is proceeding perfectly. He notes that while the Bak family has enough hidden influence to openly challenge the sect master, the leader's authority remains absolute. Even if Fairy Lin Lung were to intervene, Xuandu Temple is still the sect master's home ground where he holds the ultimate power. Sect master reads the note aloud for everyone to hear, revealing a message from a supposed heavenly demon cult spy who wishes to defect. The message offers to help Bak Quan Lam frame Lai Truong Sin as a cult spy in exchange for protection and a chance to leave the darkness. The note claims to have evidence of the sect master's collusion with the cult and invites Bak Quan Lam to Than Phong Inn to discuss the matter. It specifies a midnight meeting and warns him to come alone or the informant will not appear, after which the sect master finishes reading. The surrounding space falls into a heavy silence as Li Changsheng continues his performance, shouting out with a look of intense indignation. He laments that he is being framed simply because Bai Guanlin belongs to the prestigious Bai family, while he is of humble origins and happened to cross the young master's path. He questions where the law and justice have gone, claiming that Bai Guanlin and a spy from the heavenly demon cult have blatantly conspired to frame him. Addressing the pavilion master, he expresses his exhaustion and offers to accept death as a release if offending the Bai family is considered an unforgivable crime. Recognizing the dramatic nature of Li Changsheng's performance and understanding his intent, the pavilion master reassures him with a warm and tolerant tone, telling the young man there is no need for such fury. He notes that even he has not escaped being framed, though he remarks that their methods are remarkably crude and poorly executed. The pavilion master casts a sharp gaze over the crowd below and questions, whether the paper was indeed found on Bai Guanlin's person. Without hesitation, Jiang Beiqing attempts to salvage the situation by claiming that Bai Guanlin suspects Li Chengsheng of planting the paper on him earlier that day. The accusation is made that Li Chengsheng is the true culprit behind the entire scheme, but he is not easily intimidated and offers a sharp rebuttal. He criticizes the Bai family for their shameless and cowardly attempt to backstab him, while the temple master realizes that the truth remains difficult to discern. After listening to the heated exchange between both sides, the temple master decides to entrust the matter to senior brother Luan, who is known for his impartiality. With everyone's trust placed in him, the paper is handed over for appraisal, and Master Luan begins to carefully examine and analyze the evidence. He identifies the material as the Bai family's exclusive agarwood paper, a rare item not available to the public and reserved only for direct descendants. The ink is revealed to be enlightenment ink from the Danking Pavilion, a specialty capable of communicating with demons that even Master Luan does not possess. It is noted that the Danking Pavilion gifted a large amount of this ink to celebrate Bai Guanlin's birth, leading the observing disciples to conclude that he was never actually tricked. They believe the entire situation was a self-orchestrated performance, prompting Li Chengsheng to feign indignation and criticize the immense effort wasted on such a scheme. After denouncing the act as utterly shameless, Li Chengsheng feels a sense of satisfaction while privately reflecting on the agarwood paper and enlightenment ink. He realizes that although the content matches what he wrote, he has never heard of these materials before, and they certainly were not provided by him or by Guanlin. He admires the temple master's clever and skillful maneuvering, though he cannot help but wonder why their side seems more like the villains in this situation. Despite the findings, Jiang Beiqing remains resolute and asks Master Luan for another look at the paper, a request that clearly irritates the master. Master Luan harshly questions if Jiang Beiqing is doubting his competence or his integrity, causing the latter to quickly wave his hands in denial. He explains that while he does not intend to offend, the matter is vital to the honor of the Xuandu temple disciples and requires personal confirmation. The temple master nods and uses his spiritual power to suspend the paper in midair, rotating it slowly for everyone to see as murmurs of discussion fill the hall. The crowd is astonished to confirm that the materials are indeed the Bai family's rare agarwood paper and the unique enlightenment ink. Outsiders cannot purchase such paper regardless of wealth, and the ink is a unique treasure from the Danking Pavilion, whose scholars rarely interact with the temple. It was only due to senior sister Bai that the Bai family received a supply, making it impossible for someone like Li Chengsheng to even know of their existence. This revelation clears Li Chengsheng of all suspicion, leading the temple master to look upon the Bai family with contempt while denouncing their despicable tactics. He laments that Bai Guanlin failed to see the true nature of those around him, and expresses his annoyance at having wasted half the evening on such a matter. Li Chengsheng watched with satisfaction as a minor figure performed a tedious and predictable drama, exactly as he had anticipated. The members of the Bai family, who had initially intended to demand an explanation and pressure the sect master for concessions, found their schemes backfiring. Having been forced to acknowledge his innocence, they watched as Li Chengsheng stepped forward after the truth was finally revealed. He respectfully requested that the sect master deliver justice and uphold righteousness now that his name had been cleared. From his seat of authority, the sect master thoughtfully acknowledged that Chengsheng had suffered a great injustice, but noted Bai Guanlin's unique status. Li Chengsheng countered by arguing that even a sovereign must obey the law, questioning why Bai Guanlin should be exempt from the sect's regulation. He refused to accept that Bai Guanlin's high status allowed him to disregard the established rules of the Xuandu sect. The assembly was stunned by his unwavering resolve as Li Changxi spoke up, expressing her disdain for Bai Xuandu's supposed importance. She declared that Bai Guanlin was nothing compared to her junior brother, whom she claimed was the reincarnation of the great emperor of longevity. She insisted that Bai Guanlin deserved execution for his slander and for showing such blatant disrespect toward his superior. The sect master and the other peak masters could only exchange helpless glances in the face of Li Changxi's audacious and wild assertion. Sensing the situation spiraling out of control, Li Chengsheng inwardly lamented his senior sister's sudden outburst of madness. Knowing it was impossible to reason with her, he was interrupted by a majestic voice from the entrance questioning who dared to punish the Bai family's heir. The matriarch of the Bai family appeared with a dignified air, leaving the sect master visibly stunned by her unexpected arrival. Visibly irritated, the matriarch explained she had come because someone was attempting to kill the Bai family's prized Kirin's son. She suggested the Bai family would suffer a grave injustice if she did not intervene, leaving the sect master puzzled by her cryptic remarks. Meanwhile, Li Changxi sent an urgent telepathic warning to Li Changsheng, telling him to be extremely cautious of the newcomer. She revealed that the matriarch was an ancient figure who had once saved her mother's life, a connection that fueled the Bai family's current prosperity. Li Changsheng scrutinized the matriarch, noting that she appeared to possess no cultivation and seemed to be on the verge of death. Curiously, despite her frail and ordinary appearance, her presence caused the sect master to become visibly distressed and anxious. Not only the sect master but everyone present shows visible tension as the enraged matriarch of the Bai family steps forward with a blunt proposal. He points out the conflicting arguments, noting that while some claim the Bai family is being framed, the Bai family accuses others of murdering witnesses to silence them. She suggests a merit check since no one will confess, noting that as the premier site of merit, Xuandu Temple would easily reveal the aura of anyone who killed its disciple. While supporting the matriarch, Bai Guanlin smugly tells Li Changsheng that his true nature will soon be exposed, yet Li Changsheng remains completely unfazed. Li Changsheng reflects that he has no reason to fear a merit check, having already visited the merit tree specifically to prepare for such a situation. He calculates that if the sect master and Li Changxi fail to protect him, he will reveal his merit and seek sanctuary from the black-yellow merit tower. He believes that securing the support of the sect master, Li Changxi, and the merit tower is essential for him to achieve his greater ambition. Seeing the situation unfold exactly as anticipated, he refuses to retreat and calmly prepares to address the assembly after a moment of reflection. Li Changsheng asks if the matriarch is attempting to command the sect master, questioning whether the sect master still holds the final authority in the temple. He questions what official rank she holds to justify her interference, prompting the sect master to awkwardly identify her as the Bai family matriarch. Li Changsheng argues that her status in the Bai family is irrelevant to the temple and demands to know what right she has to dictate the sect master's duties. The sect master coughs in visible embarrassment as Li Changxi joins the conversation with a heavily sarcastic tone. Li Changxi remarks that despite having no official role at Xuandu Temple, the matriarch's family status apparently grants her the right to lecture the sect master. Li Changsheng powerfully asserts that Xuandu Temple is the world's premier immortal sect and a place of supreme spiritual energy. He reminds everyone that sect rules strictly forbid outsiders from entering the temple grounds without the sect master's explicit permission. He notes that unauthorized entry into the immortal sect is a grave offense and proceeds to directly question the sect master on the matter. When asked if the Bai matriarch had received permission to enter, the sect master is forced to admit that she had not. Li Changsheng immediately seizes the opportunity to suggest that the law enforcement hall should take action against the intruder. He demands the matriarch be punished to uphold the sect's laws, causing the law enforcement elder to cough repeatedly at such an unprecedented display of boldness. Internally, the elder finds great satisfaction in seeing such a formidable and courageous figure emerge within their ranks. Truong Sin's overwhelming strength makes him difficult to manage, prompting the temple master to sternly warn him against speaking recklessly. The master reminds him of the Bok family's great contributions and the high esteem in which Fairy Lin Lung holds matriarch Bok, demanding he show respect. Truong Sin fearlessly counters that according to the sect's rules, outsiders may only enter the Hyendu temple with the master's explicit consent. He questions if the master is suggesting Fairy Lin Lung still holds power despite her abdication, causing the master to shout in anger at his insolence. The master defends Lin Lung's virtue and lack of interest in fame, sparing Truong Sin from punishment for his baseless claims only due to his youth. Truong Sin persists, questioning why the matriarch is allowed to violate sect rules while the master remains harsh toward his own disciple. He expresses his dissatisfaction with the master's leniency toward outsiders, just as Lai Thuong Hai mockingly interjects that his protests are futile. Thuong Hai points out that as a commoner, Truong Sin must accept the master's preferential treatment of the elite Bok family ancestor. He taunts Truong Sin for lacking a powerful father, while the Bok family members begin to suspect that the two disciples are acting in unison. The master feigns distress as he approaches matriarch Bok, explaining the difficult position he finds himself in regarding the two junior. He notes that since both Thuong Hai and Truong Sin are following the sect's laws, he cannot punish them without cause or risk public embarrassment. Matriarch Bok sighs, lamenting how quickly people have turned cold toward her now that Fairy Lin Lung is no longer in power. Truong Sin bluntly tells the matriarch to stop relying on her age to gain sympathy and manipulate the situation. He argues that while Lin Lung acted out of kindness, the master is simply doing his duty, and the matriarch's moral pressure is shameful. The crowd begins to gossip, wondering if Truong Sin has lost his mind or if he is truly being framed for a crime he did not commit. They question why the matriarch would insist on using the Xuan Huang Merit Tower for verification if there was any doubt about Truong Sin's guilt. The temple master remains deep in thought, knowing that while merit can be transferred, it is distinct from merit earned through one's own actions. He realizes that gifted merit cannot bypass the tower's strict verification process and wonders what Truong Sin is trying to achieve. The master questions if the young man has been driven to madness by Lai Thuong Hai's influence as the tension in the air continues to rise. Truong Sin steps forward with a respectful bow and a determined gaze, formally requesting that the temple master allow the trial to proceed. He felt increasingly certain that the man before him was the culprit, yet he wondered where such confidence to face the Xuanwang Merit Tower came from. The sect master realized the tower's rank was far too high for him to manipulate or control at his current level of cultivation. Knowing everything rested on Li Changsheng, the sect master solemnly declared the Xuanwang Merit Tower as the temple's supreme artifact and foundation. He warned that if Li Changsheng were proven innocent, Bai Guanlin would pay a price so heavy that even Fairy Linglong could not protect him. Li Changsheng fearlessly accepted the terms, knowing the true form of the Xuanwang Merit Tower resided in the primordial immortal realm. Held by the most powerful saint, the tower possessed the ability to observe every corner of the world from its celestial height. This divine artifact was the very reason the Xuandu Temple remained the preeminent immortal sect in the world, as Li Changsheng eyed his opponent. He considered that while a murder might normally be concealed, no sin could remain hidden once the tower itself intervened. If the tower confirmed the crime, even the influential Fairy Linglong would be powerless to intervene, as the Bai matriarch watched Li Changsheng. The matriarch suspected Li Changsheng was mentally unstable due to Li Changxi's influence, yet a sliver of doubt remained in her mind. Fearing Bai Guanlin might have staged the entire ordeal, she sternly reminded him that this was his final opportunity to be honest. She secretly messaged him with deep concern, urging him to withdraw now if he was truly responsible for the accusation. Infuriated by his grandmother's lack of faith, Bai Guanlin trembled with rage and prepared to prove his innocence. He pointed at Li Changsheng and demanded an immediate verification, insisting that his reputation was spotless and he would not be framed. Li Changsheng mockingly replied that his opponent was merely stealing his lines, maintaining a calm and composed demeanor throughout the confrontation. Bai Guanlin vowed to crush Li Changsheng's arrogance once the truth was revealed, his eyes burning with intense fury. Unfazed, Li Changsheng offered a mysterious smile, confident in his hidden identity and the power he possessed. He mused that no one understood his true worth as the great emperor of longevity, while Li Changxi watched him with pride. She felt that only she truly understood her junior brother as the majestic Xuanwang Merit Tower began to manifest within the hall. The sect master commanded the activation of the tower's formation, causing a brilliant lotus to emerge and blind the surrounding disciples with its radiance. Lai Truong Sin remains calm and fearless as he holds the lotus, allowing its brilliant light to merge into his body. His entire being radiates a magnificent aura, leaving the temple master speechless with astonishment. The law enforcement elder is stunned, marveling that he has never witnessed such an immense amount of merit in his entire life. The central peak master rubs his eyes in disbelief, questioning if he is truly seeing a complete golden lotus of merit. The disciples in the hall are overwhelmed, discussing how even a single petal represents the salvation of hundreds of thousands of lives. Seeing a full lotus, they wonder if he once saved the world and suspect he is the reincarnation of the great emperor of longevity. Shocked whispers fill the hall as the sheer volume of Xuanwang energy entering his body reaches a terrifying level. Since the Xuanwang Tower has personally verified him, the disciples realize Lai Truong Sin could not possibly be a murderer. While Lai Thuong Hai smiles with satisfaction, the temple master feels as though he is witnessing the great emperor of longevity himself. Seeing the emperor's manifestation behind Lai Truongsin, the temple master realizes his previous assessment of the youth's talent was far too limited. The temple master notices Lai Truongsin using the Xuanwang energy to temper his body and the merit energy to advance his cultivation. Having consumed the golden core, Lai Truongsin realizes his fate is his own as he absorbs the spiritual energy to reach the golden core realm. After passing the test with ease, Lai Truongsin turns a cold and confident gaze toward Bak Kwang Lam. With a mocking tone and a chilling aura, Lai Truongsin informs Bak Kwang Lam that it is now his turn to face the tribe.